Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to Goldbridge, That's Football. We're live in really weird circumstances, let's be honest. I mean, look, to be honest, I'd always earmarked, I said this last week, that I was going to do a watch-along for Leeds versus Liverpool. Liverpool fighting for top four. Leeds, always a very interesting team to watch. But there has been times today where I thought, am I going to do this game? And ultimately, what won out was that this is the Premier League and this is Leeds. And, to be honest with you, I know a lot of Liverpool fans who've got no interest in their club at the moment. They're disgusted. If it was Manchester United against Leeds, I think a big part of me would probably want Leeds to win, and that sounds weird as well. So at the end of the day, fuck Liverpool. That's a general reaction from a Manchester United fan anyway. But I do feel that this is greed against the normal football club. So I am going to watch this, and obviously we're going to have a lot of conversation. And one of the big reasons I wanted to do this stream today is because I love this channel. This is not a Manchester United channel. This is That's Football, where everybody's involved. And I'm hoping this evening that we're going to get fans of all clubs having their comments and conversation going. So I know I've uploaded a couple of videos here today about Mourinho and about the European Super League, but they're pre-recorded videos. They're just like updates. This is a live show, and we can get into some conversation. If the purge happened in real life, I would kill all these greedy shits. This new European Super League is a disgrace, says Matt W. Well, look, we're better than that. We don't need to resort to threatening people with violence or criminal damage or anything like that. We're better than that. There is a way forward, and I think it's quite interesting what UEFA said today, and I'm slightly encouraged by the British government, who've said we will support the football authorities in everything they do, but if they can't do anything, we will step in. And I think that is that's something that's really interesting. You can say yes to the Super League if you want. You probably will get blocked unless you actually give a good reason for it, because we're not going to waste our times with trolls tonight. So, Mark, will you change teams if this goes down, says Mohammed. I'll never change teams. I'll never change teams because it's interesting here. I really like this comment. I'm a Barcelona fan, and I feel sick, honestly. I would love to get into that tonight as well. I do want to hear from Liverpool fans and Leeds fans if you're watching, but I also want to hear from like Chelsea fans, Arsenal fans, United fans, and if we've got European fans of other clubs, Juventus and Bayern Munich and the Spanish clubs, I really want to get into that. I know there's a lot of debates, and I've been on debates. I've spoken to people today. I've got another one to do tomorrow, but I actually am really interested in what you lot have got to say tonight, because that's what That's Football's all about. With Manchester United, I'm more than happy to talk about United. I'll talk about what Gary Neville and Carragher have said in a moment. But I'm also very aware that on the United stand, it becomes very about Manchester United and our history, and 58 and 68 and 99, and the Glazers are not a problem from today. They're a 15-year problem. So, but I'm not really, educated on how everybody else is feeling. So let's get into that. Lots to discuss as well. But there are a few quotes I want to bring you. I'm just sorry. I should have put this out before I went live. Let's go. So yeah, do get your comments in. Really want to talk about that. Couple of super chats first. Hello, says Exxon. And supported United for nearly 30 years, says Sean Negative Turner. I'm fuming. Generations of my family have supported United for what? I won't be a fan no more. And I think what Sean says there is probably how I feel at the moment. I don't think anybody's ever lucky to be dead. Of course they're not. We all want to, well, most of us want to live forever, don't they? But, I'm glad that my granddad never got to see this. I think it's traumatic. It's been really traumatic for me personally, and I'm sure it's been traumatic for many of you. But I do worry about the older generation. The people that do remember the '60s, and people who with the best will in the world, they're older, they're coming towards the end of their lives, and they've loved football all their life. And to see this happening, if it's damaging us, imagine what it's doing to them. And there's no thought, absolutely no thought. I said this on the United stand earlier, and I think many football clubs have done a good job over COVID. They've promoted equality and coming together and everything like that. And they go and do this. the most damaging thing that's happened in the football world in my generation, and they dropped this on the toes right at the end of COVID. It's just disgusting. If this falls through next season, the Big Six should be banned from Europe and be relegated to the Championship. John, as a Manchester United fan, I actually applaud that. We should be punished. We should not be allowed to be in the Champions League next year. And I would, you know, the way I feel at the moment, I would applaud that. I would applaud that because greedy people deserve to pay the price. Big up, Mark. I love watching all your videos as American. I'm embarrassed by my fellow countrymen. Down with the Super League, says Dylan. Mate, if you're American, you've got nothing to feel guilty about. When I say that this is the Americanization of football, that doesn't mean that Americans are bad. It doesn't mean that the Super Bowl's bad. It doesn't mean that the NBA is bad. It just means that these American owners who don't understand the British game at all, and I'm talking about the Glazers here, don't understand relegation, don't understand offside. They just want to turn football into American football. They don't want to have relegation. They want to have conferences. They want to have franchises. And they just want to manipulate and maximise earnings from the beautiful game. So that's not any American's fault. This is specific American people's fault who run our club. Talking about the investors, the American investors, is TJ. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And also, I'm an Inter Milan fan and I hate this, says Halvard. It will ruin the Serie A and the whole meaning of Italian football. And look, I'm sad about that, Halvard, but I'm glad about it as well because I know how the English fans feel. It's really interesting and really humbling and encouraging that for as angry as I am as a United fan, I'm seeing Arsenal fans, I'm seeing Chelsea fans. There's a protest at Chelsea tomorrow. I'm seeing Liverpool fans furious. And if we're seeing it in Italy and we're seeing it in Spain as well, then this is good news. Because ultimately, we've got to do everything within our power to do something about it. Grand Theft Auto tonight, Taylor. I don't know. If you want to give me a follow on Twitch, I'm half thinking I might do it tonight. We'll see. I'm very tired after last night, but we'll see. If the Glazers weren't in charge, do you still think we would go into this Super League, says Leo? Look, never say never. Put football loyalty aside, and this idea is scum, says Ryan C. Yeah. I agree. And as Tottenham fan, I hoped Mourinho would work at my club. Where does my club go now? Was it Mourinho's fault or is it the players and Levy's fault? Says, hey. Well, we'll definitely be talking about that in a bit as well. Obviously, Mourinho sacked, but it's totally overshadowed. I hope all English teams get kicked out of the Champions League and Europa League this week. Why are they in it? They don't want the competition, says Sean Negative Turner. Exactly. Well, let me just read you some quotes that have come in from Gary Neville tonight. He's been on Sky Sports talking with Jamie Carragher. And he says, this is an attack by 6 national families on the integrity of our national sport and it must be stopped. Klopp can stop it. He's a man of integrity. Solskjaer can stop it. He's a man of integrity. They can all contribute to stopping it and we must all come together to stop it now. Gary Neville's spot on. This is something I've personally said. It's something you've said as well. There's radio silence from managers. There's radio silence from players. Yet you've had Ander Herrera, numerous other players who aren't players for these European Super League teams. Why is that? Why are some players coming out and saying it and some aren't? Now, there's rumours that Manchester United players were told about it this morning and weren't very happy. But publicly, you can put a tweet out when you've got an assist. Why can't you put a tweet out when you're pissed off about something that's actually massive in the world of football? Why are footballers of these football clubs being quiet? Why are managers being quiet? I mean, hopefully it's because they're putting something together to stop it on the private. But, you know, the best way to do it is go public. The best way to disintegrate this European Super League is to go public. You're telling me that Harry Maguire, or you're telling me that Jordan Henderson, or you're telling me that Aubameyang, or you're telling me that Kevin De Bruyne have got it written into their contract. You can't say anything public if we decide to go into European Super League. Bullshit. It's not in the contract. Put something out there. Gary Neville says, I can't sit here and say to the players of Liverpool and United to go on strike because that wouldn't be right. But lads, if you've got it in you, you can stop this. You can mobilise it. Spot on again. It can never happen. I don't think these 6 owners, I hope they're panting hard tonight, feeling uncomfortable and their stomachs are churning. And the executives and players who play for these clubs, they'll take away everything from this country, the pyramid, the sincerity of competition, the honesty, integrity of competition that we value, and they're taking it away. They've created a monopoly, a closed shop, a tournament where you're guaranteed to be in it. West Ham and Leicester are in the Champions League. Forget it. They don't get into the Champions League anymore. It doesn't matter where they finish in the league. What's the point? And I feel slightly complicit. I stayed pretty quiet in terms of the Glazer family over the years. I stayed quiet because when the club were taken over as PLC, that it could be bought and it was out of the control of everybody. And I applaud Gary Neville for that because that was the only thing I was going to say slightly negative about Gary Neville. He has been very quiet about the Glazers when many United fans have been slating them for years. He stayed very quiet. But I always believe in giving people a second chance or a first chance or whatever you want to call it. It's better to say something at some point than to never say anything. And he was vocal yesterday and he is vocal today, and more people are being vocal, I think, because of that. And look, Gary Neville's repeating exactly everything that we said yesterday on the United stand, but that just means he's like-minded. That just means he gets it. And the more people that do this, the better. The players need to come out and do something. The managers need to come out and do something. There is a tide, there's a tsunami of hate towards this Super League. Get on the surfboard. Don't be part of the part of the carnage. I would say that to every footballer of any club involved in this. Get behind us, or you're going to get blown out of the way. Simple as that, because this is not going to be allowed to happen. But what he did say is, look, Joel Glazer, this is serious. He's not going to back down. He's going to try and push it through. Once he's put his name on it, he's going to try and force this through. When I woke up this morning, I saw the statement and I had Joel Glazer's name on it, and I thought, this is a big problem. He doesn't put his name on anything, that man, without, wanting to get it through. So look, interesting words from Gary Neville. Nothing really new that you haven't said, but it's still very, very, very important. Also, just some quotes about Jamie Carragher, which I think is important as well. But I want to get through your comments because theirs is no better than yours. Chelsea fan here. I've heard from sources that City and Chelsea were forced into this league, says Shoya. What do you think will happen in the United Liverpool game later this week? Hope something crazy happens. It's not this week. We've got Leeds next. Kit Kat. People saying it's not the players' fault. Whilst I agree, unfortunately, they are the face of their clubs. People will focus their frustration on them. No, they have a period of time that they can be quiet, David Hunt, but they've got to come out at some point and say something because they are the ones with the power as well. Sean Negative Eternal says the players need to go public. If they have any respect for the teams they play for and the fans, they will stand united with us over this. The whole point of football is passion and winning. What is the point of a league where any team in the top 5 can win it, says Josh. And literally nobody but these greedy business owners want the Super League to happen. Even the fans are turning their back on their once beloved club, says Connor Popplewell. Exactly. Just some quotes from Gary Neville as well. Sorry, not Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher. Football fans get together, TV pundits, players, managers get together and stop this because it can be stopped. I'm convinced of it. I agree with that. My message to everyone is I think these clubs think this is a done deal. I don't think it is. I think supporters up and down the country can stop this. I really do believe it. I feel we can stop this, all of us. I'm so tired over the last 24 hours. I just feel like I want to cry about it. But to be honest with you, the government statement that they will do everything they can in their power. UEFA saying they're going to kick these clubs out, and fans all around the country and all around the world absolutely united that this is wrong. I feel that there is enough of a movement that if we ignite that movement, I mean, even the Red Army, I say even the Red Army, but the Red Army, which is the United, fans who go all around the world following Manchester United, they're saying big things about, remove football for the fans. Football is nothing without the fans. Banners from the Stretford End, we don't want them there because you don't believe in it. They're talking about not renewing season tickets. So big things are happening. Personally, in relation to protests, I know some clubs are doing protests. There's talk of Manchester United doing it. They tried, some opportunist fans tried to do a protest at Old Trafford a couple of summers ago, and it ended up being an embarrassment. And then they shout at people for not turning up. But the reality is a protest outside Old Trafford won't do anything. That's not going to stop it. That's just for Sky Sports and BT's bloody news channel. Protests outside Old Trafford will not do it. You've got to hit them in the pocket. We need the players on board. We need to, people need to not buy season tickets, not renew season tickets, not buy merchandise. That is what they need to do. And people will say, says the man who sat in a merchandise. I bought this 3 years ago, and it's because it's to do with 1968. It's a shirt to commemorate them. That's what the badge is. 1968 European Cup winners. We're not going to be in the European Cup anymore, so I'm wearing it on purpose. But I will not be buying any merchandise in relation to Manchester United anymore, and I would implore everybody else to. Considering we've got 2 or 3 kits coming out, I'll guarantee it will sell in the millions, but I will not be buying any. Jamie Carragher also said this is not Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal, Man City. This is John Henry and FSG. This is the Glazers. This is Roman Abramovich, Sheikh Mansour, Stan Kroenke, Daniel Levy. These are the people to blame for this. Yeah, because these are not our clubs anymore. There was talk of Leeds United wearing some T-shirts against it. I would like to have seen that. I'm not interested in transfers at the moment. Bayern Munich apparently interested in Camavinga. I mean, look, those sort of things don't matter. So, I mean, I'm trying to understand what Jurgen Klopp has said here as well. There's some interesting thought. Klopp. What is Klopp saying? Leeds United players have worn T-shirts basically condemning it, saying football is for the fans. It brings it, actually I did nearly choke up there. I mean, I'm not a Leeds fan. I'm not a Liverpool fan. But it looks like Klopp is standing by his comments about the Super League. Basically saying not me or the players. So Klopp has responded as well, which is rather interesting. Let's have a look at this. We've got a super chat coming in from Jermaine Johnson. Most British people are socialist, while as Americans are all about making money. 2020 caused financial hardship, so nothing wrong with making money. I don't think that'd be a very well received super chat, but I suppose everyone's got an opinion. It spit in the face to the 96 as a Liverpool fan who passed in an FA Cup game. Now we're disassociating ourselves to that competition. Yes, I mean, really, really big thank you for that comment, by the way, EB23. I feel that this is not something. Let me just do this because I want to make sure that I put this across wrong. I'm really grateful for that comment because I'm not a Liverpool fan, of course. Liverpool are our biggest rivals, but obviously what happened at Hillsborough was a very, very tragic day for football. And you're right. I've spent a lot of time talking about Manchester United and the Busby Babes and 68, and the European Cup has given us tears of joy and tears of sadness. To turn your back on that makes me throw up as a Manchester United fan. As I touch the badge that we had in 1968, and that 1968 badge was 10 years after the Munich tragedy, and we had the same manager, and that journey took a decade, exhausting decade, to rebuild the club after we lost so many great players in 1958, and we won it in 1968. To turn our back on that tournament makes me very, very sad and disgusted with my football club. But you're absolutely spot on. Eb says it's a spit in the face to the 96 who died. The FA Cup semi-final in 1989, wasn't it? At Hillsborough between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. 96 Liverpool fans died, as we know, in the FA Cup. And Liverpool went on to win that FA Cup. There will not be a Liverpool and Manchester United in the FA Cup next year because you cannot play 38 Premier League games, 20-something Super League games, and then still have time for the FA Cup. You may enter it, you may put your youth team out, but you're totally disrespecting a tournament that Liverpool fans went to and didn't come home from. I've said it before, people might not be aware about this. I was actually at Hillsborough as a very young lad. I'd been at the FA Cup quarter-final at Old Trafford. It was my first trip to Old Trafford. It was near my birthday, and I really wanted to go, and I was taken to the match. And basically, I was told that whoever wins in this game will go to the semi-final. And obviously, unfortunately, my first trip to Old Trafford, Manchester United didn't win, but I did go to that semi-final between Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, and I was there. And I don't have any trauma from it. My only trauma is for Liverpool Football Club and Liverpool families who lost family members and friends and loved ones that day. I was very young. I remember things about it, but I'm not going to pretend I was close to it. I'm not going to pretend that I have nightmares or anything like that about it. Fortunately, I've spoken to my dad about it, and he does. I don't mean fortunately, but fortunately I don't. But I do remember it. And again, this is something personal to Liverpool Football Club, that they're in that situation where they can't. Right? They're in that situation where they can't. They're in that situation where their club are turning their back on something very important to them as well. And it's a disgrace. It really is. Mark, I'm with you. 30 years to win a title and it means nothing now. 6 European Cups. Istanbul counts for nothing. Cannot support this club now, says Robin Young. But the thing is, I would say, from what Klopp has said, and he's not really said anything, apparently he was very frustrated that Liverpool were offered the T-shirts that Leeds have got. Obviously, they're not going to wear that when their club is... I would be unhappy if I was Klopp in that situation. How are you supposed to put T-shirts on when your employers have told you going into a tournament? There's bigger issues for them to work through there. Apparently, UEFA have a meeting to throw out teams involved in the European Super League from this year, European tournaments. We worked so hard to be in the semis, says Yazza Said. As a Man City fan, I already feel guilty for the club's recent success, but now I'm just embarrassed by them, says Pete. The thing is, though, let's move on to Man City a minute. A few weeks ago, I did a video saying Man City are ruining football. I apologise for that, because I wish you were still ruining football. I'll take Man City ruining football for what's happened in the last 24 hours. Man City are not ruining football. Manchester United are ruining football. Man City may have oil money and they may have, success built on, winning the lottery. But they weren't the first club to do that. Chelsea had it. Blackburn Rovers did it. If Man City are ruining football, what are Manchester United doing to football? So I apologise to Man City fans. There is I've done enough videos about Manchester United in the last 24 hours, but they absolutely obliterate anything you've done in the last 12 years. I'm disgusted with my football club. As a Liverpool fan, it's sad they said you'll never walk alone and they disrespect their fan base. Our club was built on awesome fans and because of some dollars they just betrayed us, says Pirro. As a Chelsea fan, we might not have that much history like United, Liverpool, etc. Yeah, but Niven, Chelsea do have a history. And your history is still your league titles, your FA Cups, you've won a Champions League. It might be a more recent history. You might not, have what Manchester United and Liverpool have got, but you've still got to say you're still a fan of that club. There are clubs that aren't involved in this Super League who are victims more than we are. We're embarrassed and disgusted by our football clubs, but we're in this shambles of a tournament. What about the Everton fans and the Leicester fans? Or in 20 years' time, Arsenal and Spurs might not be super teams. Some would say they're not that now. Maybe in 20 years' time, Everton and Leicester have got so much consistent success of being around the top 4 and Arsenal just can't get out of mid-table that they're the super clubs. So it's all about bad timing as well. Relegated to League 2 with the other 5 teams because our owners are destroying the game, says Emil. I'd love to see that happening. I'd take it to get my club back. And I really do. I don't think this is possible, but I really wish the government would get involved and restructure football so that football clubs cannot be owned by individualistic, opportunistic money men. Do the Glazers realise that our United squad struggle against teams like Fulham and Sheffield United, but want us to play teams like Barca? They won't care about that, Akil. They don't care about that. This is about lining their pockets. Oski, bottom line, this Super League is the worst idea ever in football. It's great to see rivals put aside and see all the fans united as one on this stuff. Yeah, because we love the game. It's absolutely disgusting. They are killing dreams. Winning World Cup and the Champions League is the dream, says Himanshu. Thanks for the super chats that are coming in. This is the furthest thing from Manchester United with these owners. The club I love is no more, says Joshua Bowwater. And Mark, do you genuinely think the Super League will go ahead or do you think it will be scrapped? Absolute disgrace towards this beautiful game. And in the words of Keith Birkinshaw, there used to be a football club over there, says Bryce Shaw. I'm not standing up for anything other than a stretch. I wish I was making a statement, but I genuinely do believe there is some hope tonight, where this morning and last night I felt there was none. I do genuinely believe there is some hope. 3 reasons, really. 1, you, and what people like Gary Neville and Carragher have been talking about tonight. They're saying what you're saying. There is a massive amount of fan frustration. 2, part of that as well is things like we've got fan groups at all clubs trying to do stuff, talking about boycotting season tickets and merchandise. This is the way you're going to hurt your club, by the way. Stop buying the merchandise. Don't renew your season tickets. 100% is the way to go forward. It's more powerful than any protest. That's one thing. The second thing is what UEFA and football authorities are trying to do. They're looking at all sorts of options. They're looking at banning players from the Euros. They're looking at kicking teams out of the European competitions. This is all good news as well. And then thirdly, we've got in this country, the government coming out saying that they'll back the authorities to do what they can do. And if they can't do enough, we will come in and do what we can do. So I am encouraged that everything that is possible can be done. It doesn't mean it will be successful. The fourth thing we need is the players. We need the players and the managers to do something. They're acting like they're bloody prisoners of war or something. They look Tuchel, Ollie, Klopp, they're all saying, well, I didn't know anything about it until yesterday. That's yesterday. What about today? You've known about it for 24 hours. You've got to make a stand. Like, I guarantee you, if Jurgen Klopp, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer get together and say, not in our name, this ain't happening, then it'll all fall apart. And I know people will say, well, yeah, if Klopp does that, they'll sack him. And if Ole does that, they'll sack him. And then they'll bring Nagelsmann in, and then they'll bring another manager into Liverpool, and the fans will forget Klopp and Solskjaer. Bullshit. That's on us then. That's on us. Give us something that we can work with and we will back you. That's basically it. I'm not a Liverpool fan. If Ollie doesn't come out and Klopp does, I'll get behind Klopp. Because it's not about getting behind Liverpool. I'll get behind Klopp for making a stand. I'd hoped Mourinho had done it today, but clearly he hadn't. I will get behind anybody in football, player or manager, that does something about this. Because that's what needs to happen. That's the fourth thing. But hopefully the government, the fans, and the authorities will stop it. But I tell you what's very dangerous. If these players and managers say nothing and it gets stopped by the authorities, then the players are part of the problem. And I will never look at Man United players the same again. If they don't publicly come out and say something before it gets stopped, and it gets stopped by the authorities and they stay quiet, well, to me, you were part of the problem. They've got to come out and do something. They should. Bruno Fernandes has put a tweet out. I think somebody else, Cancelo, may have done something as well. But there needs to be a lot more. There needs to be a hell of a lot more going on, doesn't there? Anyway, we're getting close to kickoff here. I mean, look, I say kickoff. We're going to be watching the game, but we're also going to be talking a lot about what's going on. So, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and smash a like on the video. I haven't even given you the team news on this because in many ways, football, I wouldn't say it's secondary, but it's certainly not. There's a lot of other things going on at the moment. I'm a City fan, don't care about rivalries. You Man United fans I love right now, trying to fight for our football. It's so special coming together. Big up Mark, seriously, we're stronger when we come together, says a random guy. Look, if we can get our football back, let's open up the rivalries again. For at the moment, we all need to be behind each other because we're fighting for football. We're fighting for those rivalries. We're fighting for Man City, Man United, Liverpool, Manchester United. We're fighting for that. I've been a big Liverpool fan for the last few years, Mark. Honestly, don't see a future in this game that originated in this country. I'm rooting for Leeds, says Liam Cartwright. If Liverpool really want to make a statement, they all just need to stand still and let Leeds score. Yeah. They're not going to do it, Cody, are they? This will not happen. The backlash has gone absolutely unclear. They will learn about European sport the hard way, says Bry Shaw. I hope you're going to be right on that, Bry. I really do. I will give you the team news as the game moves along. Call on me, call on me. Well, Bamford's playing. Right, let me get ready to rumble. Thanks everyone for tuning in, by the way. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, bottom right hand corner. Lots of things to discuss. Come on, Leeds. Lots of people shouting for Leeds. Let me give you the team news then, because obviously that's going to be very important, as we know. Strong Liverpool team. They're obviously still, taking it serious that they would like to get Champions League football. And I've got to be fair to Klopp. Everyone wants Leeds to win. I want Leeds to win for many different reasons. The Liverpool team, though, is Alisson, Trent, Fabinho, Kabak, Robertson, Milner, Wijnaldum, Thiago, Mane, Firmino and Jota. Mo Salah's on the bench. But Liverpool, look, maybe Klopp's thinking this nightmare's going to go away and we will be in the Premier League and the Champions League next year, and therefore I want to finish in the top four. So I do understand what Klopp's motivation will be, is to try and get a win and try and hope that normality will come back. I do understand that. Mark, dreams can't be bought. We have to earn the right to play teams that have earned the rights to players due to their merits and not their wallets, says St. Jimmy 16. Yes, you're absolutely spot on. Football is for the fans. T-shirt being held up. I think it's the Leeds chairman. This is going to go much worse. Watch one influential person say influential things about this crappy tournament or league or whatever you call it and win the fans over, says Genwill. Thank you very much for that super chat there. Enough is enough. Glazers shout out to Dougald McCheaney and Auntie Emma. Thank you very much for the super chat there. I'm going to read and catch up with a lot of these ones as well. I'm just going to start the timer on this and then we'll come back to the live comments. It is a game I'll keep you updated on, but ultimately I can't help but not want Liverpool to... I mean, wouldn't want Liverpool to win anyway. I'm not going to pretend that I would, but I really just feel that it's the Super League against morality, and unfortunately Liverpool are taking on the role of the Super League. As a Chelsea fan, I'm so upset by my club's involvement with this. It's genuinely so disappointing. It's embarrassing. The greedy big six, says Oski. Mark, Florentino Perez said that if the players from the Super League get banned from the World Cup, then he'll start his own Premier League, says Joel Morris. He'll start his own Premier League? I think you mean his own World Cup. He is an absolute parasite, Florentino Perez, isn't he? He is the enemy. He makes my blood boil. Same as the Glazers. They're just absolute scum. Absolute scum. And they must think people are thicker than them. I can't stand people like that who are so arrogant that they think they're cleverer than everybody else. Like, mate, you're in a position of privilege. You're not cleverer than anybody else. You're an exposed clown. You are doing this to make millions and millions of pounds for your own pocket. You're not on some moral crusade. You're not Greenpeace. You're a piece of piss. That's what you are. You're a piss stain on football. And they morally think they're doing something good for football. But you're not. You're not. Morally would be making sure that everyone gets all the money. You're getting money. And you're trying to sell it that you getting loads of money will help everybody else. Do the Glazers realise that our United squad, and I've done that one from Akil, and as an American and a Red Sox fan who John Henry owns, new football supporter who started following Bolton, this will ruin your sport. I'm so sorry. I love the fans of this sport, says Joel Johnson. Madrid is owned by fans and still they elected him unopposed. They are looking after their own, says Capil. As a young United fan, I can't remember when we were ever world beaters, so it hurts me to see the Glazers denying fan to see that, says Harvey. And Mark, as a Barca fan, I'm totally disgusted that my club has agreed to join the Super League. Don't even have the motivation to watch football anymore, says Ethan cleverly. Well, I mean, look, it's very interesting with Barcelona and Real Madrid fans because I would suspect that for them the situation would be that they want to they would want this because their league is not very good, but. Are you stopping the FIFA Super League, says Oliver Smith? Mate, I'm so disappointed with that. I'm really so disappointed with that. That European Super League was done because of a lot of your people's idea. It was like, it's a computer game. Let's put 20 of the best European teams into a Super League. But we've got, they're still in the Champions League. You know? I mean, look, it was just a bit of fun. I mean, I can't even pick FIFA up at the moment. I mean, whether it's a Super League, the Premier League or not, I've lost a lot of interest in football in that sense. So yeah, Newcastle fan here, but I echo everyone's opinion on this situation. The Rich just want to get more and more. When does it stop, says VVW. Just keeping an eye on the game at the moment. Leeds knocking it ball around quite nicely. It's time for the Brits to take revenge on the USA. No taxation without representation is 1776. No qualification without relegation is for 2021, says Tim Remington. But yeah, in relation to the Spanish clubs, I'm encouraged by every Barcelona and Real Madrid fan that says they're disgusted, because I was hearing this morning that the Spanish clubs are actually quite happy with what's going on because their clubs are in debt, and La Liga wouldn't be a big loss to Barcelona, Real Madrid because they dominate that league anyway, and their league's nowhere near as good as the Premier League. So it's good to hear that Barcelona and Real Madrid fans are not opposed to it. But just to any Barcelona and Real Madrid fan that think this is a good idea because La Liga's not that competitive and you want your club to make more money, just remember Barcelona and Real Madrid, the Bernabeu and the Nou Camp, packed with packed. So I would say a large proportion of those supporters at every game are Spanish. You're not going to be playing at the Bernabeu every week. You're going to be playing all around Europe. And also, not only that, the next step will be that some of your home games are played in New York or LA or Delhi or Singapore or Sydney. So you may think, oh, this is great, we're going to get loads more money and we're going to play in a more competitive league. You won't be able to watch it except for on the TV. Hey, Mark, is there any legislative provision to prevent it? I hope there is one, because there's lots being looked at the moment, and fingers crossed there will be something. Matthew Paul says, good evening, Mark, and all. I stand with all 92 teams, fans and non-league teams. We all dream of lifting the Premier League and European Cup, says Matthew Paul. And as a City fan for 15 years, we need to unite, even if we're rivals on the pitch. This is bigger than that, says Jack Chambers, 100%. Corner comes in there. Liverpool on the attack at the moment is Trent. Another cross comes in. Hey, Mark, so we've done that one as well. Thank you. The Super League is the opposite of what Madrid means, says AK. Well, exactly. I mean, look, I'm encouraged by any Real Madrid or Barcelona fan that is opposed to this, because Real Madrid have won more European Cups than anybody. You know, I can talk about what the European Cups means to Manchester United, literally wearing the badge. I can talk about what it means to Liverpool because they've won 6, but it surely means everything to Real Madrid. Why would you want to leave to go in a European Super League and turn away from all those European Cups you've won, Puskas and the like, going back, domination of the 60s, 3 in a row in the last decade. If you go into the European Super League and you don't go into the European Cup, you're turning your back on a trophy that will be confined to history. It won't mean anything because you're not in it. So it should be very, very important. The Manchester derby would continue. The Liverpool-Manchester United rivalry would continue, but the Merseyside derby wouldn't, would it? So there's loads of things that are going to be lost. FA Cup, lost. Even though my club is not involved in this mafia scheme, I'm sure Karl-Heinz and the Bayern board will help UEFA as much as possible to stop this. We must unite. We must fight this as one, says Joshua, who's a Bayern Munich fan. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know the situation. Personally, I think that PSG are not a moral crusader. I think PSG are intrinsically linked with the Qatar World Cup next year, which is FIFA. I think if PSG weren't involved in that, they'd be in the Super League. Maybe I'm being a bit cynical, but I think that. But the German clubs, I feel there's something different going on. I think Dortmund and Bayern Munich probably aren't involved because of the way that their club and their league is structured. This 51% with the fans sort of thing. I don't understand why Real Madrid and Barcelona are getting away with it, because I thought they had presidential elections, but maybe they vote for the president and then the president has all the power so they can't stop it. But certainly in Germany, the fans can stop it. So, Bayern Munich, German football again at the forefront of it. And look, nobody's perfect in this. Bayern Munich dominate the Bundesliga, and I think it's wrong how they monopolise it because they're more powerful than everybody else. But the Premier League is all about money, and they wanted the 39th game. There is bad things that go on in football because of money, but don't ever compare it to what's been tried to be done over the last 24 hours. The Premier League might want a 39th game played abroad, and Bayern Munich might dominate monopolise the Bundesliga, but none of those things they're all dwarfed by what these greedy gits have done over the last 24 hours. Any player who wanted to leave to PSG or a Bayern now can force a move with the moral high ground. Can't play for a club who would do this, as Mr. Rees. Thing is, Barca and Madrid make the most revenue in the whole world and are the richest clubs before the pandemic. Why did we sign up to this, says Ethan Cleverly? It might sound dramatic to some people, but this news has actually got me feeling proper down in the dumps. Genuinely feel detached from United. Well, Joshua, as I said, if you've cried tears because of the Busby Babes and you've cried tears of joys because of moments of winning with Manchester United, then why should you feel dramatic for feeling depressed by your club being basically thrown to the wolves? Mark, I'm from Chicago and work for a professional hockey team, says Chris Salazar. Love United all my life. If you'd like an American perspective, more than happy to. Cheers, Chris. The European Super League anthem will be Shane McMahon theme song, says Emil. And Mark, you're legend. I'm an Arsenal fan. I look up to you as a football fan more than any others. What is your opinion on Klopp's interview, says Charlie George. Well, don't look up to me. I mean, look, I'm just trying to get as many of your opinions across because I'm very aware of how we feel as United fans, but I know there's a lot of other fans who will be watching this, and I want to know your situation, whether you're in the bloody greedy club or whether you're a club that's not maybe you're a Villa fan or something like that. Heated on Monday Night Football. I'll be interested to know if they want the rights to broadcast it, and will Nev Carrot, etc. stay as pundits if this is the case. Well, apparently Sky are in consultation already. Sky, Amazon and Disney have been mentioned as being involved, as looking for the rights. So total contradiction by Sky if that's the case. Oh, let's get Gary and Jamie on to berate something that we're negotiating for. This is just American money ruining another sport. Look at tennis, athletics, NFL, NHL, MLB. They aren't for the fans. They have money, nothing more, says Declan Evans. The owner of PSG had also bought rights for Champions League broadcast in his country, so it'll be a huge loss for him, says Abanath. As a Canadian, this is a shame to see. European football has its magic that separates its system from American-style professional sports, and I think the Super League won't happen without Bayern or PSG. I couldn't be more in love with Dortmund and Bayern at the moment. I don't know whether they're not in it because their fans won't let them into it, but I think it's fantastic. And somebody asked me what I thought about what Jurgen Klopp said. I don't know what Jurgen Klopp thinks. I know he was very, very against the Super League, and I think that hopefully that stance will stay. And if Klopp was to make a big statement about it and walk away, then I would, my respect for Klopp would be more than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer if he did that, because we're not in that world anymore. I think people need to realise that. We're not in this world where we need to be loyal to anybody involved with Manchester United at the moment. Your loyalty is with the people who are trying to save Manchester United. And Jurgen Klopp, and I'm sure he won't do, but if a manager like Jurgen Klopp did come out and say something publicly against it, it would cause an even bigger uprising than what's going on now. And Jurgen Klopp's words would actually help my football club. So, look, anybody here can come out and do something. Glad that Gary mentioned the state of Old Trafford during Monday Night Football. Glazers haven't invested a penny, only took money out of our club, says Slaven. Each player has their freedom. What can stop them sitting down on the pitch during each kickoff for 90 minutes, says Big. And I'm a Chelsea fan and I'm gutted we're going to throw away our Champions League chances for this. We're expected to be expelled. I mean, that's an interesting thing, Sean. This talk that basically 3 of the final 4 will be kicked out of the Champions League. Manchester City, Chelsea and Real Madrid. I hope it happens. I do hope it happens. If you dance with the devil, then you've got to expect to get bitten. And they've shit all over the fans and they've shit all over the history of football. They deserve to be punished. Be interesting to see what the format would be. Do they just hand the trophy to PSG? Do you allow Bayern Munich and any other team that's not in the 6 back into it for a semi-final? I would do that. I mean, going back to the semi-finals, Dortmund come back in because they were knocked out by Man City. Maybe Bayern Munich come in because they were knocked out by PSG. Porto come back in because Chelsea knocked them out. Obviously, Liverpool can't come back in because they were knocked out by Real Madrid. So you go back again. I would do that. I wouldn't let the competition just be handed to PSG. I would just say, look, this is what happens. Manchester United go out and Granada come in, and Arsenal go out and Slavia Prague come in. That's what I would do. Yeah, punish them. It's my club, but punish them. As a Celtic fan, we're the first British team to win the European Cup and now kicked out. Heartbreaking, says Argyle. Well, Celtic are a bigger club than some of those English clubs in it, so... And look, people can say, well, the standard of football at Celtic's not great. That's not really what we're talking about, is it? I was thinking about Celtic and Ajax specifically today, and I was like, they're 2 massive clubs with huge European Cup history, Ajax and Celtic. Of course, they're not as good as Tottenham and Arsenal, really. But if you put them into the Super League, that would be actually quite an equality thing to do. If we put Celtic and Ajax in, all this money they've got, they'll be able to get better players, and we'll have a representative from Holland and Scotland. Why would you want 6 representatives from England when you could have 4 with 1 from Holland and 1 from Scotland? Because they're massive clubs with massive support, and the money they'd get, they'd be able to compete. So, yeah, again, as a Danish fan, if this is going to happen, I'm going to miss watching our Champions League battle it out in the Champions League and make an underdog win versus some of the big clubs, says Emil. I think this is ridiculous, and I will get involved in whatever the fans or anyone wants to do to try and prevent this rubbish from happening, says Charlie George. Grand Theft Auto tonight, Mark. Help take our minds off this distraction. I might do, Carl. Twitch, give us a follow. Links in the video description. The only thing I would say is I'm absolutely exhausted, and it might just be better just to have an early night tonight and attack it tomorrow night. Former Barca president signed off on European Super League. Club members given no option to vote. It seems a mockery of what the club stands for. Disgusted as a fan, says Jacob Allen. Thank you for that update. Very important. I think a lot of people are confused as to how Barcelona and Real Madrid can have presidential elections but be in a European Super League. I think it's obvious that Bayern Munich and Dortmund can't be in it because of they're owned by the fans 51%. But if that's the case, then Barcelona and Real Madrid have elected these presidents who've then used that power to take them out of something they probably want to be in. Mark, have a look at some of Fabrizio's most recent tweets. Klopp's comments from today are quoted on there. Thank you very much for that, mate. I appreciate that. I will have a look at that. But thanks everyone for getting involved. Please subscribe, by the way, bottom right-hand corner. And lots and lots of things going to be going on. Of course, as I'm sure you're aware, I'll get you these quotes as well. Still 0-0 in this game. I mean, look, I have got it on. We are watching a game of football, but we're also chatting away, as we have been for a long time, about what's actually going on. So let's have a look what Romano said. You know, it's a sad state of affairs when, as a Manchester United fan, and probably as a Chelsea fan, because Tuchel's not done anything either, you're hoping that Jurgen Klopp does something big. And remember, Jurgen Klopp said that... well, here's the quotes from Fabrizio Romano. Sevilla have come out and said they're not joining the Super League. I don't know whether they were invited either. I'm so proud of our club. We say no to the Super League, Director of Football. Maybe they were asked, Sevilla. I guarantee Sevilla probably were asked. Their Europa League success is massive. But Klopp to the BBC, I have the same opinion about the Super League. It's a tough one. People aren't happy and I'm not involved. Liverpool is more than some decisions. My aim has always been to be part of the Champions League. I like the idea that West Ham can play in the Champions League. Remember, the most important parts of the club are the supporters and the team, and we should make sure nothing gets in the way of that. I understand the fans' anger because of the Super League. I don't know exactly why the 12 clubs did it, but it's always more games, more games. It's about more money, nothing else. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant from Jurgen Klopp. That, from Jurgen Klopp, is exactly what we need to see. And I'm going to quote tweet this on Twitter and say, now, Solskjaer and United players, please, we demand it. Get behind us or you can retweet my tweet. I mean, look, it's calling out United players, it's calling out the manager, but if Jurgen Klopp is willing to do that, then why are Manchester United not willing to do that? Mark, so I've read those. Thank you very much, Joshua Bowater. Watching this match comes with a very bitter atmosphere as it doesn't feel it has any points, says Clark Kent. Well, that's why I decided to continue to do the Watchalong, Clark, because I thought that there'd be a lot of fans feeling like you and I are about this match. And yeah, we can chat about what's actually important. It's disgusting how Spurs are considered a big club despite not winning anything in ages, says James Pullen. Really disappointed with Spurs, James. I don't know whether you're a Spurs fan, but really disappointed with Spurs on many levels today. Disappointed with some Spurs fans as well. When Mourinho was sacked, I saw one Spurs fan put in, literally, yes, come on. And I was like, you are a fucking fool, mate. Are you the modern idiot football fan then? Or are you just in it for something else? Because what are you on about? How can you celebrate? I totally agree. I've said it myself. Mourinho's done. Mourinho is done. He's not good enough for the Premier League anymore. I understand why any Spurs fans would want to get rid of him. But can't you see you're being played? They sack a manager 6 days before a cup final on the day where the shit's hitting the fan about you being in a European Super League. It was done in a vain attempt to win favour with their fans because they fucked up. And I'm disappointed because I quite enjoyed the All or Nothing Amazon Prime series on Spurs. And I thought Daniel Levy came across as somebody that really cares about that club. And actually, he's just somebody who cares about his bloody wallet, isn't it? Ethan Cleverly says, as a Barca fan, I can assure you that about 90% of our fan base are against the Super League. Most of us aren't happy. That's good to hear, Ethan. They don't understand football, the rivalries, the communities. The problem is, once everyone is super, then actually nobody is. It will be painfully dull, says Bryshaw. Will you still watch United if they join the Super League, says Patrick Murphy? That's a great question. And you're probably sick of my name, says Charlie, but I just want to ask you, do you know Callum's Corner? And I want to know, what do you do if you were one of the players? Good question. 2 good questions there. I need to remember these questions. So very, very quickly, Callum's Corner is that I don't know who that is. Is that the goalkeeper? No, that's the wizard person, is it? Is that Cal the Dragon? If I was one of the players, I'd come out. I think you know that. I mean, look, I'd probably be a very different person if I was a footballer for Manchester United, but the person you know on the camera is the person I am, and there's no way I'd be sat here. I understand what football is. If I'd had the privilege to be a professional footballer, I wish I had done, I'd still be the same person who learnt about Manchester United from my granddad and loved football and played football all the time. So I understand my background, I understand my footballing education, and I would be totally opposed to this, which is why I'm stunned not many players have come out, because many of them will have a very similar background to us. So I would have come out and said something. To hell with the consequences, because if you stop this, there is no consequences. All right, Manchester United might try and sack me. Well, tough shit. I'll go and play for Everton. See you in court. How am I breaching your contract, basically? And what Patrick Murphy says, we used still to watch Manchester United in the Super League. I've had this conversation today on a very serious level. I mean, never say never, but the conversation I've had today with a few people was that what will you do with the United stand if Man United go into the Super League? I, at this moment in time, will not continue with the United stand. I may watch United games in the Super League, but it will not be through the United stand, because I cannot. How can I do it? How can I be passionate about transfer news or tactics or player performances when they're not passionate about us, the fans? I can't do it. I can't support fakes. I can't support mercenaries. I just can't do it. So no, I'm absolutely hopeful that this won't happen, because I think it will be the end of many people's relationship with this football club, and not just Manchester United or every other club. Mark, have a look at some. I've done that one. In America, our home games are always at home, except for some special cases. The only American thing this league is doing is the playoff thing. The rest is about the owners lining their pockets, says Zach. Is the signing a ploy to change the Champions League reorganisation to a format of a watered-down Super League to help some of the top teams, says Clive Roberts? I mean, look, at the end of the day, I hope that there is some negotiation there. I really do hope there is some negotiation there. But I said this on the United stand, so I will repeat it here because some of you might not have heard it. The hand grenade has already been thrown into the fans. And that sounds a bit ruthless, but basically, as fans, there's millions of us, right? There's millions of us. Imagine this scenario, right? We're all in a stadium. We're all waiting for this news, and the owners of every one of these clubs comes out, right? Locks the doors and basically showers us with hand grenades. Those of us that survive this are never going to forget the scars. And that sounds brutal, of course it does, but it's meant to be brutal because it's an analogy in relation to what's happened. We might get out of this and get football back to what it was like before, but we'll never forget what they tried to do to us today. They tried to kill our football clubs. If they don't get away with it, they're still in charge. They're either going to win or we're going to win. The battle is there. There's no going back. These people will either win and stay in charge of our clubs and take us into the Super League and we will lose, or we will win and they will have to be got out of the club. That's what will need to happen. So I don't see a situation where it's like, oh, all right, we're not going to do a Super League. Let's sit down with UEFA and negotiate. I think they underestimate what they've done. They might be able to sit down with UEFA and renegotiate terms, but I think the damage they've done to the football fans is irreparable, and I don't think we'll ever go back to what we were. That doesn't mean United fans will get the Glazers out, and it doesn't mean that Arsenal fans will get Kroenke out, and I don't know how Chelsea fans get Roman Abramovich out, but what I would do is it might be a goal for Leeds. No, it's gone wide. Bamford, he went through one-on-one, it hit Fabinho and went out. What I would do if I was Chelsea is I'd back out. I'd get out now. That's what I would do. Because if you can see the danger, turn off. It's like being on the motorway, isn't it? And you know there's an army ahead and a roadblock and they're going to take you down. I'd turn off. Now, some of these clubs I don't think can turn off. I think, there's a convoy, isn't there? Florentino Perez and Manchester United are at the front of the convoy saying, we're going straight ahead, we don't turn back. If I was one of the clubs who weren't one of the front runners, I'd be like, yeah, I'm right behind you, and turn off. And maybe some clubs will do that. Nike Sports says 100% of the Juventus fans want Agnelli out because of this. I applaud Juventus. Juventus is a club that I've always loved, back from Italia 90. Roberto Baggio, David Platt played there. I love Juventus, Vialli. So I'm really hopeful that Italian fans who love their football, absolutely love it, will again do the right thing. Because Italian fans love Serie A. They love it. They're very proud of it. So look, hopefully things will happen. We're witnessing the new world order of football. They are dividing and ruling and divorcing us from our history. Get the money. Hungry Glazers out, says Anil. New Barca president has spoken out against the Super League in the past. Perez mentioned it first in 2009. Messi's father in Barcelona to negotiate renewal. Press sure he will renew, but then this was announced. Vital, says Jacob Allen. Hey, this is United fan from India. There is widespread disgust and sadness with this here. A part of me has lost interest in football because of this, says Tushat. Very, very sad. Liverpool fans have hounded the last US owners out, says Dane Grayson. And would you leave the United stand, Mark, if this goes ahead, says Corbin. Well, as I said before, I don't know what had happened to the United stand, but if it goes into the Super League, it's up for sale. If anyone wants it, I just don't see how I can carry on. I don't know how I can personally do it. I'm sure people will carry on. I'd question their motives if they do, but when I'm screaming and shouting at the screen, that's not an act. That's my passion coming through. Whether it's on here, when Leeds scored against Man City and I'm going dun dun, it's just a release of passion, of love for football. I can't help it. When Chelsea beat Man City at the week, I can't help it. I'm just very passionate. But that works both ways. I can be passionate in a joyful way, and I can be a stubborn shit in another way. And I can't fake it. So the big problem I would have is that I can't stand the parasites that run my football club, and that would make me very resentful towards it, because I don't think it is Manchester United anymore with them in charge. And then my next issue would be, I think over the last few years under the Glazers, you latch on to Bruno Fernandes, you latch on to Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial. You latch on to these players that make you feel that they're a little bit like, Roy Keane or a David Beckham, and that's your joy. If these players stay quiet and just go, yeah, we're going into this, we're making money, well, I'm sorry, I don't relate to you anymore. So it just makes it very difficult. The players have got to come out and do something. Do you think players will leave teams in the Super League if they can't play international football? Loved your comment on Celtics as the game, Scott. Also, I'd throw Rangers into that as well. I mean, I know this whole Celtic Rangers thing is big, but the only reason I mentioned Celtic is because they've won the European Cup. Rangers are a massive club as well. And there will be others. There will be others out there. I mean, Benfica's a big club, isn't it? I don't think you can not include a Celtic or a Rangers or an Ajax or a Benfica in the European Super League because the quality of their league is not that good. Because as soon as you make a Super League, it doesn't matter about the league they're from, because they're going to have the money to bring people in. Celtic could offer money for Jack Grealish, and Jack Grealish could go there because he's like, I'm playing in the Super League. So I think the allocation of the teams is corrupt as well. What are the fans of the other 6 teams saying, the non-English teams, says Andrew Staunton? Well, that's what we're trying to find out tonight, mate. Rogers said Leicester have disrupted the Big 6 so much that these teams have had to go and create a private league, says Ben. He's not wrong, is he? Genuinely depressing the amount of people going to fall out of love with football. Can't stand to watch my team Chelsea playing in the Super League, says Kieran. I will buy the United stand off you for £2.50 and a packet of quavers, says Dylan. And could this lead to a power shift to Portugal, Holland and Everton like clubs, as if this tone-deaf clubs continue with this nonsense, says Ruben. Well, I don't know, Ruben, because these clubs in the Super League will still have more money than everybody else because they're being bankrolled by $5 billion. Hi, Mark. Might be a silly question, but as a West Ham fan, how should I be feeling about this? Should I be worried because I am what does this do for us, says Jay. And promotion relegation battles are the fundamental elements of football, says Clark Kent. I would be very worried if I was a West Ham fan or a Leicester fan or an Everton fan. I said this yesterday. I feel very sorry for you. I think some think it might be an opportunity for them because they can play in the Champions League and they can win the Premier League. But the problem you're going to have is that Liverpool and Manchester United and all these clubs are not going to disappear. They're going to get bankrolled by hundreds of millions of pounds each. They're going to get a TV deal and they're going to have so much money and so many games to play. They're going to knock on the door and say Declan Rice. They're going to say Jack Grealish. They're going to say Ndidi. They're going to take all your good players because they're going to need big squads. So you won't have your good players anymore because they'll have the money to take them. And therefore, the competitive element of the Premier League will become like the Championship. You'll become a second-rate league because you won't have the money to compete with what the Super League has got. So I don't think it will be good for you. I don't. I'd love to say you will win. I'd love to, even as a United fan, I'd love the Super League, if it does happen, to fail. and that Manchester United and Liverpool have to come back to the Premier League and UEFA and say, please let us back in. And they say, yeah, you can come back. You start off in the National League. You're bankrupt. I'd love that to happen, but the money will make it hard. And some people, apparently Porto rejected it as well, says Thomas. Some people are saying get Celtic and Rangers to come down and play in the Premier League. But then are you not doing to the Scottish League what the Super League's done to the Premier League? You know, what about Aberdeen and all those clubs up there and all the history they've got? This is like the Chinese Super League, says Jesse Lingardino. Patrick says, what will you do if you leave the United stand? Surely you will miss it. Well, I've got That's Football. I don't know whether I'd pack it all in together. I mean, there's loads of things I can do. I might just go back to a boring bank job. From Mexico, this is a sad day for football. I will miss the rivalries and competition that happens in all leagues, says Roger. And Mark, I've been an Arsenal fan for 24 years. There's a goal for Mane there. Liverpool make it 1-0. 1-0 to Liverpool. 1-0 to the Super League. The Premier League are losing. Liverpool score. I wonder how many Liverpool fans actually celebrate there. Trent Alexander-Arnold with another assist and Mane makes it 1-0. Mark, I've been an Arsenal fan for 24 years. If this goes through, I'll disown my club. I advise you and other true fans to do the same, says HJM. And as a Spurs fan, sacking Jose just leaves us in the dark. How do you build a squad under a new manager with no sense of progression or competition, says Ronan. Is it 100% going ahead, Mark? Because if the fans can't really do much, I've heard they would be playing in America, Dubai and China. Well, they've signed up for it, anything with Tom. They have signed up with it. And the only way of stopping it really is... I actually think that the only way of stopping it is the authorities, UEFA, the Premier League, the FA, the PFA, the governments. I think that's the only way. Mark, according to The Guardian, the government of the United Kingdom can implement laws of the support of the opposition to oblige 51% stake to the fans. Well, I hope that happens, like Lionel. It should have happened a long time ago. Just want to say a massive thank you from all Old Firm fans for giving us the recognition most English fans refuse to give us. Massive respects as KVD. The thing is, I'm probably a little bit older than other people. I actually do remember when Rangers and Celtic were, good teams. Obviously, they've fallen off in the last 20 years in relation to, the Champions League. But there was a time when Man United, I remember like Ali McCoist and Mark Haitley and people like John Collins at Celtic, and they were good teams. Henrik Larsson, they were good teams. And you know what? If I was running a Super League, I would seriously consider putting a Celtic or Rangers in it, because the whole point of the Super League is that everybody will get the same amount of money, won't they? So they're a big club. I put Benfica in it as well. It never sits right with me putting loads of teams in from. Basically, does this sit right with you? There's 6 Premier League clubs in, but there's only 2 La Liga clubs in. It's very suspicious straight away, isn't it? Because basically the Premier League's already the best league in the world, so let's take most from there. Go and support FC United of Manchester. Many United fans are switching. I'm a Doncaster fan. Keep up the good work, says Lewis Forster. As an American, I don't know anyone who likes our system over the pyramid. We have no support for the grassroots, and this could have a bigger effect on the communities than people are mentioning, says Nick. Devastated by this news. Seriously considering changing my first name by deed, Paul, because I don't want to be associated with those bloody Glazers, says Joel Pendle. And can this be the straw camelback moment where fans take their clubs back, says Abbott. It's going to be one or the other. There has to be a war. There's going to be a war. The clubs that have signed up for this are not going to back down, and the other side can't back down either. And if we win the war, we might get our clubs back. If we lose the war, we'll lose our clubs forever. That's what's at stake. As a Rangers fan, I was looking forward to seeing us in the Champions League for the first time in years, proving ourselves against these English clubs, says Reese. Yeah, and what if West Ham get in the Champions League? And what if Leicester get in the Champions League? Leonard, hi Mark, I think the owners know they're going to lose millions of fans, but they will rely on gaining millions of others when they expand to Asia, says Leonard. Yeah, the global markets are what they're looking at. As a City fan disappointed by my club, as I'm sure you are, this cannot go ahead and will ruin football for the club and also the players that join, says Dylan. And hi Mark, as a Liverpool fan here, I'm watching the game currently, but yet not excited nor to reaction from that goal. This may mean nothing, says Stealth. And can I just say that comment there about not caring about fans and looking at global markets, whether it be Asia, South America, wherever, that is exactly what they are doing. They are turning their back on the hardcore fans of these clubs, the traditional fans, the legacy fans as they call them, to get fans globally, new fans. And what I said this afternoon when I was talking to Thogdad and Thogden was that what they don't want is me, and what they don't want is you. They don't want the fan who is obsessed with the club and obsessed with football and knows what your club's all about and feels that it's your club. They don't want you. They want to replace you with a new fan who loves football but isn't really in depth into it. They'll watch the football, they'll buy the shirt, but you know what? Ooh, I quite like Manchester United in the European Super League 1. But I also like Barcelona in the other European Super League. They might get to play each other in the playoffs, but for most of the season they're in a different league. So I'm going to get the Man United away kit and I'm going to get the Barcelona home kit. And I quite like the Man United special edition for August Super League kit. I'll get that one and I'll get the Barcelona one as well. They want the fan that's just going to pump money into this, but is the casual fan in a sense. They don't want the hardcore. They don't want the match going fan. They don't want that. So Zed Jamie says the news has got me mentally drained. It's a disgrace. All the money I saved from a young age even to get to Old Trafford, and this is the return. I'm devastated. Are you really saying that Celtic is anywhere near as big a club as Spurs? No one has heard of Celtic in Africa or anywhere, not in the UK, says Tomlinson. I think you need to wash your mouth out, mate. Celtic are a huge club. Can't believe United have turned their back on the precious history, says Mike. And if this goes through, are we generally ready to up and leave our clubs and switch to lower teams in England, or would that be wrong because I'm stuck now? MJ, I don't think I would support another club. I'm not saying that. I couldn't just switch it off. I can't switch off my support of Manchester United. What I would do is I would justify it that my club doesn't even exist anymore. And I would probably watch football like I'm watching this match. I don't support Liverpool and I don't support Leeds. I'd probably just watch football. But I wouldn't support a club anymore. That's what I think I would do. I was thinking about it today. I can watch a game and get emotionally involved in it, but I don't need to support a club. Antwerp fan here, can you predict the consequences it will have for us all, says Lana. I can't predict it. Because I don't want to give anybody any hope. And I don't want to give anybody any doom and gloom. I can't predict what's going to happen. I hope it's going to be stopped. I'm fully aware that it might not be. Tushar says, can't the government do something legally to get these parasites out of these 6 clubs, because this is a money-making act for them and not for footballing reasons? Rich idiots destroying football heritage. The most important thing that needs to happen is the foot needs to keep down. What these clubs will want is they'll want it to go quiet. They'll want people to get used to it. They'll want the arguing, people to get tired of the arguments. And we need to keep the pressure on constantly. There needs to be, like, I was encouraged by what the government said, that there's fast track actions being looked at. UEFA saying they're trying to kick them out of the Champions League now. Put the pressure on these teams to get their league up and running in August. Put the pressure on them to have to sort out sponsors, infrastructure and all that lot for August. Stop them playing football now. In an era of player power, if you love playing for your country and want competitive football time to stand up as a group, naive, I know, says Clive Roberts. And this could be good. I mean, look, I read something today that in relation to international football, privately, some of the clubs involved in the European Super League are quite happy at the prospect of their players not playing international football because it means more fitness and games for them. I mean, what sort of an answer is that? These footballers might not be able to play international football, but that's good for us because they'll be fitter for us. This could be good, could lead to Parley kicking the Glazers out for good, at least remove their control, says Ruben. I tell you what, I'd love it. I would bloody love it if laws came in that meant that 51% of Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United went back to the fans, because what would the Glazers do? They'd soon bloody sell their shares then. They won't sell them while they've got all control, but they'll sell them when they haven't got all control. American Liverpool fan here, become a fan of both the football and Liverpool fan during the Suarez final season at the club. This news has left me embarrassed, says Max. And Bayern versus Leverkusen, Watchalong tomorrow, and more Bundesliga Watchalong, says Cold Dish. Well, you never say never, do you? You never say never. Maybe I'll have time to do some Formula 1 Watchalongs. I'm not, I'm not scared of turning my back on Manchester United. I'm sad about it, but I'd rather turn my back morally on something that doesn't exist anymore than be a fake and condone what they've done to my club. I feel that they've shit all over Sir Matt Busby's legacy. They've shit all over our European Cup legacy. They've shit all over Sir Alex Ferguson's legacy. I'm not going to do that as a fan. I feel that by being against it, I'm standing up for something that's good. If I condone it and go, okay, let's do it, then I'm shitting on it as well. And I can't do that. What does this mean for teams like Swansea? Do they get automatically promoted? Says Jamie Boy. It's going to be very interesting to see. Very interesting. This is an attack on British culture by a foreign mafia. Boris should give them 48 hours to revoke their support. If not, start seizing assets in the UK, says Agent 47. Look, I hope all options are on the table when it comes to this. The sad reality is this, that we will slowly accept it, says Isaac. And that's what worries me, is that slowly fans will just come round to it and say, you know what? And be wary of this. I guarantee that certainly in relation to Manchester United, Raiola will want this to happen. I think in the next couple of weeks, you will see things like Pogba's going to sign a new contract. Haaland's going to come to United. These will be the things that turn you. Be aware of it. They're going to do things like that. Spurs did it today by sacking Mourinho. Give the fans something that they want and they'll start to come round to this. And I think with United, this is what will happen. They'll try and erode your anger by offering you up bribes. As a West Ham fan, I'm devastated. Who cares now, says Alexander Ryan. And the sad reality is that we've read that one as well. What is the point in even playing the rest of the season now? Top 4 means nothing, says Joel Wilson. Well, as I said at the start of the game, I suppose if you're Jurgen Klopp, 5 minutes to go to half-time here, if you're Jurgen Klopp, you're probably playing this game in the hope that this will all fall apart and next season you'll be in the Champions League and this will be a long-forgotten nightmare. I get why the Liverpool players and Jurgen Klopp are saying just go out there and play the game, because hopefully... What Jurgen Klopp basically said before the game, this is nothing to do with the players or me. So he's going out there to... In his mind, he's going out there to play for the fans in the hope that... next season they will be in the Champions League and they're going to qualify. So I get that. I don't think we're at that stage where you can say, why don't they just down tools? But I think we're fast approaching that. Man United aren't playing for a week, so why don't they down tools? It's a different story at Manchester United. It's a difficult situation for Chelsea because they're playing tomorrow. Liverpool are playing tonight. Mark, do you think people will attack Woodward's house again like in January last year? That was over transfers, not the whole sport, says John Quill. I would really, hopefully, 100% say, if anybody's thinking about that, don't do it. I know there's going to be a lot of anger and a lot of frustration. And look, I've tweeted it today. Ed Woodward was at JP Morgan in 1999. In 2005, he was at JP Morgan and helped the Glazers buy Manchester United. In 2021, JP Morgan are going to bankroll £5 billion to get the Super League up and running. And Ed Woodward is a massive part of this Super League. So you can see the path here, and you can see Ed Woodward's links to the Glazers and the Super League and this long path to it. But we don't need to be violent and we don't need to be criminal in our attempts to stop this. We need to be moral, because that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for equality. We're fighting for, morality. So, protesting and, you shouldn't be attacking or intimidating another human being. That's not the way to deal with this. The way to deal with this is to stop them getting what they want. That's the victory. Giving... What happened when people turned up at Ed Woodward's house was disgusting, but it actually provided sympathy for them. And we don't want that. We don't want to give them sympathy. They are the parasites that have caused this, and they must be dealt with in a legal, professional way. We must not lower ourselves to that level. Which is why I don't think protests are the way to go. The best protest is a financial protest. The best protest is a sanctioned process. The best protest of all is to get these people out of football. If it goes through, United will be history for me. Sadly, I'll have to watch League of Ireland, which makes me physically sick, says David. Bit of comedy there. Arsenal fan here. I absolutely hate Manchester United. Always have, for obvious reasons. I enjoy watching you, though, says Daniel. Thank you very much. This shows how far superior Scottish football is because we have a core and we have a more passionate fans than down south, says Joseph Coyle. I don't agree with attacking anyone or their home, just wondering, says John Kill. Good. Hi, Mark. Imagine being kicked out of the Premier League weekends with no football. Life would feel strange beyond belief. Surely this can't happen, says Mr. Dan United. Well, if they kick them out of the Premier League, they'll just extend the Super League, won't they? They'll just make everybody play each other 4 times. Super League would probably be bought by Amazon Prime of some shit as well, says Saul. I think it'll be pay-per-view. Angry and heartbroken Liverpool fan myself and didn't celebrate the goal, but I do want the lads to win. It could be their last game in the Prem. They deserve it, says Nick. And no club would make such a decision without players. Key stakeholders think about it, says Abby. No. Abby, I do think about it. I'm very suspicious about it. I'm very suspicious. And I can only speak for Manchester United, but I'm very suspicious about Manchester United's playing squad, including managers, silence. And Chelsea, and Arsenal, and Manchester City, and Liverpool. I'm very suspicious. I'm hoping that their silence is because they're outraged and they're looking at what they can do legally, collectively. But ultimately, they've got to do something because their voice is going to be probably the most powerful in this battle. What do you think it would mean for the Euros and World Cup and the players that would want to play in it, says Harry Gibson? I think banning the players from the Euros is probably a bit premature. I said this afternoon I would back it, but to be honest with you, even if Harry Kane comes out and says, I don't want to play in the Super League, he'll still be banned from the Euros because he's going to be a Spurs player. He's got a contract to get out of. There's contract ramifications. And also, I think you're dangling a carrot by saying you can play in the Euros, but you're not playing in the World Cup next year. Let them play in the Euros. Let them feel what it's like to play for your country, and then say, right, you've got a year to get yourself out of Spurs and into a club that you can play for in the World Cup. So I thought about it a bit this evening, and I'm like, definitely do ban the players from internationals. Definitely do kick the clubs out of the tournaments. But don't kick them out of the Euros. Let them actually play in the Euros and see what they're going to miss. And say, this is your last one if you go ahead. Bezos will be all over the Super League, says Steve Locke. And what do you think about Dortmund and Bayern, who do not want to join Super League? As a Dortmund fan, I'm glad that the Bundesliga has a 51% rule, says Bellman. I'm very, very proud of the German clubs, the way they're run, because they're unable to join without the fans saying so. So it won't happen, will it? And I think that it's half time here. I think that's the most damning thing, isn't it? I think the German football situation is the most reflective of the situation, because Dortmund and Bayern Munich, even if they want to be in it, they can't be in it because of the club, because of the way the clubs are run. So I think that that's how it should be. The way it is in Germany is how it should be, and that's why they're not in it, because they can't be in it. Please subscribe, by the way. Bottom right hand corner, there was a lot of stuff going on. So, yeah, please subscribe. There's a lot going on. And Legend, 2 p.m, everyone. I'll text tomorrow morning, but we can all be ready for... okay, that's great. Celtic have a big following in Africa thanks to our charity work. Celtic have supporters clubs all over the world. Sorry, I've got a really important message I've got to send here. I'm also trying to run a show. To my point earlier, I didn't see Liverpool players wearing the protest T-shirt, says Abby. Mark, you know I'm a United fan through and through, but Klopp has outright condemned it today on Sky, so I applaud him for it. We have to unite as fans. Oh, 100%, Matt. I'm totally with Jurgen Klopp on this. Absolutely with Jurgen Klopp on this. He's absolutely spot on. And look, I don't feel that Manchester United exists at the moment. So my loyalty to Solskjaer, I'm more loyal to Klopp because he's actually come out and condemned something that's going to ruin my football club. So at the moment, Jurgen Klopp is more of a manager to Manchester United than Ollie is, because Jurgen Klopp's come out and condemned something that's going to destroy my club, if that makes sense. This is why every manager needs to do it. Yeah. get involved with that. Right, let me just go through that. So lots of people talking about stuff, which is fine. It's a weird old time. I never thought we'd be doing this sort of thing. To my point earlier, sorry, we've done that one. Most players of big clubs have league clauses built into their contracts. No Premier League could mean a lot of players being released, says Jonah Bishop. What's Sean Dyche's opinion on this, Mark? Connor Mitchell. I'm sure we'd like to hear from Sean Dyche, but I don't think now is the time for that. I really don't. Joining protest at Stamford Bridge tomorrow, says Will. Yeah, there's a big protest at Stamford Bridge tomorrow. Matthew McKay says, we're hearing rumours that Chelsea and Man City are trying to U-turn. Neither likes the idea but had to follow or risk financial problems. They want to persuade Spurs and think there'll be enough to dissolve the plans. Well, look, this is the problem, isn't it? This is the problem. If Man City, Chelsea and Spurs turn their back on it, where does that leave me as a Manchester United fan? Where does that leave you as an Arsenal and Liverpool fan? That's the situation we're in. It's that would be a win, and I would applaud Chelsea. I've told you I've always been a Chelsea fan. I celebrated a goal at the weekend, and I celebrated when they beat Atletico Madrid. But seriously, no, I would be a Chelsea fan. I'd be a Man City fan. I'd be a Spurs fan for that split day, because they're rescuing my football club by destroying the Super League. So I'm a fan of Klopp today. I'd be a fan of Chelsea, Man City, Spurs, or Arsenal. If they pull out of this Super League and destroy it, you're preserving my football club. So I support with you. I stand with you. But as I said, the problem would be if Chelsea and Spurs destroy it and other clubs follow them, my club's still the team that constructed it and want it. How do I go back? Well, I still support my team, but how do I get my team back? So that would be the problem there. But look, it'd be better than the situation we're in. Hi Mark, I can't stand the fact that people want players to be banned from international football. What have they done besides signing for a big club, and who could afford to sign all of them, says Joskin. Well, this is why the players need to come out, because then they'll get the sympathy for being banned if they come out and condemn it. Angry and upset at the fact we have money-grabbing leeches as owners. I never even celebrated the goal our two great clubs built on history signed up, says the Dugout Football Channel. Thank you very much, Doug, and I know you're a Liverpool fan, so thanks very much for that. FA still need our money, says Abby. What can Ollie do? He did an interview yesterday when he was unaware what happened. Also, how can he do it? They won't put it on their website or Twitter, says Oliver Smith. And like you said, Mark, even if they back out of the Super League, every single team that signed up should be kicked out of the Premier League, says Ewan Black. What can Ollie do? I mean, you're right. I've got to be fair there. Jurgen Klopp is being asked questions in an interview and basically confirms what he's always said, that he's against it. Did they learn nothing from Wimbledon's history, says Granberg? Where is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's opportunity? There's a bit of a joke here. Breaking, Arsenal have decided to not participate in the European Super League. They're starting their own breakaway league with just themselves in it. The bookies currently have them as second favourites to win. I've heard another Arsenal joke as well today. That it was Amazon Prime, the Disney Channel and Sky are looking to negotiate rights for the European Super League. However, the Comedy Central are winning the rights for the Arsenal Spurs North London derby. If the Super League fails to go ahead, we're still going to be stuck with our owners. They'll try to ruin us out of spite because we stood against them. And that's the problem, Annie. That's what I'm talking about. Tuchel press conference, I'm with my club decision, says Abe. Yeah, this is the problem. This is the problem. If you are not against it, you are with it. And just going back to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer there, of course, if he's asked about it in an interview because we're playing tomorrow night, then he's going to get an opportunity to have digested it and say something. It's probably in a very fortuitous position not to. Solskjaer spoke out about the Glazers in 2006. A lot of people forget this. He did an interview in 2006 where he was adamantly against the Glazers, and yet he's employed by them now. Has he changed his opinion, or does he still have those opinions? I would say he harbours those opinions still. I would say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, deep down, hates this idea of the European Super League. But The problem is you might hate something and still go along with it. Why you go along with it? Because you're in your dream job? Because you're going to earn a lot of money? I don't know. But I feel that, you know, and let's be fair, if Solskjaer says I'm against this and gets sacked, many of you tell me he wouldn't get a job anywhere else. So you're asking him to walk out on a job where he's actually doing very well at the moment and never get a job in football again. So, you know, it's down to the individual. I do demand them to come out because I want them to be on our side, but you can't make them do it. As an American, I'm going to the NFL stadium owned, but the Arsenal owner and going to protest them. Let them know the world is disgusted, even if it is USA, says Joe Alexander. And as an American, it's been a childhood dream to go see Chelsea at the Bridge one day. It feels like that dream has been tainted, but I will not lose hope, says Santi. People in this live chat is misleading. Tuchel said he trusts the club to make the right decision. Yeah, I hadn't heard him say that, Isaac, to be honest. I actually tweeted about him earlier on. I can read you the tweet from Tuchel that I put out because I didn't listen to all his presser, but I listened to a bit of it. And what I put down now was Tuchel says he knew yesterday about the European Super League and he's here to play in the toughest competitions. That's why he's here. So, you know, he didn't commit one way or the other. Is there nothing pure anymore? Does everything have to be about money? Hoping the big names of the game come out and use their massive influence, says CBTV. And FA sent an email to all clubs about removing their titles. Tottenham received no such email, says Rowan. Don't blitz me with the jokes because I will take them as serious because there's so many news stories coming out at the moment. You don't actually know what to believe. So yeah, I probably would take that as serious the way things are at the moment. Ajax and Van der Sar have just released a statement, says Mac. I'm going to go through the latest news in a minute. And instead of stripping their titles, they're going to move over to the Super League, says Ginger Fury. Thanks for the super chats there. Right, let's have a little bit of a news roundup because there will be stuff coming out. Let's have a look. European Super League clubs have decided to transfer their Champions League trophies over to the Super League. Real Madrid will start with 13 Super League championships. What? Oh my God. I mean, that is just unbelievable. They're going to, not only are they going to cancel it, they're going to pretend that this is the new one. So the Champions League trophy will become the Super League championships. What the hell? I mean, this is a legitimate story, apparently. Well, you're already making a very fake thing even faker. You didn't win a European Super League. You won the fucking European Cup, which you're not in anymore. Yeah. How does that work? How does that work? It's like pretending your lasagna's a bloody fish and chips. It's not. It's a lasagna. What's for tea tonight, wife? Lasagna. Fish and chips? No, lasagna. It's fish and chips because I say it is. It's lasagna. You know, this European Super League is the European Super League. You cannot transfer 13 European Cups and call them European Super Leagues. It don't work like that. You know, it just doesn't work like that. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. It really is. Right. I'm just trying to get you some latest sort of news here. I mean, interestingly, from Redmen TV, Liverpool channel, your football club is winning a game of football 1-0 at the moment, but you've been deprived of any emotional involvement because some fellas in suits with a load of money have decided that you don't matter to them. The manager you love has been betrayed. This is not the same. Exactly. He has been displayed. And I do feel really, really sad for Liverpool fans because I know if Manchester United were playing tonight and they scored a goal and it was a worldie from Bruno, I would go, good goal, Bruno, but I wouldn't go, get in, Bruno, because it's gone. It doesn't exist at the moment, does it? So, you know, I do really, really agree with that. And I hope that, you know, I feel sorry for any football fan at the moment. I think everybody's part of this at the moment. And it's you know, it's very visible. You know, I'm not a Liverpool fan. I'm not a Leeds fan. I've got the game on, but I'm more interested in chatting with you. I hope all English teams get kicked out of the Champions League and Europa League this week. Why they're in it, they don't want the competition, says Sean Negative Turner. Bet you thought you wouldn't be this busy on a Monday, says Oliver Smith. No. Exhausted, mate, but important, isn't it? The universe really does not want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to progress through a semi-final, says Nathan Brown. I'm going to stay live for a bit after the game, says Isaac. I probably will do because I want to see what Klopp's going to say just in case he says something else. And, you know, very good point here. I don't know whether it's a joke or not, but Rahul says, what will happen to my mental health? That might be a joke. It may be very serious. If it is serious, Rahul, what will happen to your mental health? I keep saying this today because I know how I feel. I feel very tired because a lot of this came in late last night, so I didn't sleep as well as I normally would. And all day it's been relentless bits of news trickling through, and most of it news that just gets more and more depressing, which obviously has an impact. Tiredness has an impact on my mood, and also, you know, bad news has an impact on my mood. So mentally I'm not where I would like to be today, and it's all because of this bloody Super League. So these people who've done this to line the pockets and make football better, you're torturing the fans mentally. How is this making football better? They knew this would happen. There's been quotes coming out today that they knew this would happen, but it was collateral, basically, because in the long term, they believe it's better for everybody. I disagree. I can't see. I've seen nothing that makes me think that. Mark, the Super League will be the most viewed competition in the history of any sport, and even if we hate the idea, people will get excited because it's the best clubs creating the best teams in history, says Oliver H. Well, yeah, you know, look, I'm not saying it's not going to make a lot of money. I'm not saying that a lot of people aren't going to watch it. All I'm saying is that I'm not in love with football anymore. I can only speak for me. I'm not going to try and convince people. I personally think that the plan is just to drop this bomb and cause this damage and hope that people will heal from it and just get used to it. If you do heal from it and get used to it, it's a very dangerous experiment in human psyche, because it shows you can inflict enormous mental torture on people who love something and absolutely destroy that thing they love, and then those people will follow you and love something new. It's an experiment, isn't it? You know, I do a lot of analogies, but basically, this is like somebody coming into your house and destroying something that you love in front of you, and you hating them for it, and then them saying, come to my house, I'm going to buy you something that's not as good, but is going to make me feel better. And then over time, you're going to love that thing. That's basically what they're doing to us. They're playing an experiment that over time you will get used to this and put up with it and then start to love it, even though they've destroyed the thing that you loved and never wanted to part it with. Guess we don't have to worry about Pogba leaving again. No wonder he seems happy at the club all of a sudden. No point leaving one super club for another, right? Oh, Abby, you're right. Pogba won't be going anywhere. We probably will sign Haaland because the money that's going to be in there is going to be huge. They think people will go along with it like they did with the lockdown, says Prince. And check Ajax Twitter. Van der Sar made a statement, says Piet. I'll check that out now. Players are coming out now. On mental health, Mark, you're not alone. I feel depressed. Two of these people to play puppets with our mental health. Manchester United is ours, says Sean Burns. They've decided after this 12 months with no fans that we aren't important and that they can do what they want with our club, says Jack Taylor. And guess we don't... Yeah, I've done that one as well. Thank you very much. If they kick clubs out that are making a U-turn out of the league, no one would be able to return to English football because of the financial side of being in League 2 or the Vanarama League, says MTG. And let's not forget, there's probably some people out there, I can't deny, there probably are some people out there that are quite happy about this, quite excited about this. Breaking, Ajax have refused to be in the European Super League, so maybe Ajax were approached as well. Let me have a quick look about this. Well, I mean, look, I don't know whether Celtic were or Rangers were approached, but if Ajax were approached, then you would expect maybe they have been. Statement from Ajax. Ajax is completely taken aback and disappointed by the announcement of a possible Super League. We support the new setup proposed by UEFA has confirmed on Monday. So maybe they were not approached by it because they're speaking as if they are stunned by it, not like anything else. A good comment here from @Malakins on Twitter as well. He says, if these clubs fail in this endeavour, get fined and punished, then the current board must resign on the spot. Their brazen greed will have inflicted enormous pain and suffering on their clubs. They should be banned from the business for life, and new legislation written in today. I mean, you'd like to think that could happen. You know, we might be living in a dreamland. I don't think we know really what's going to happen at the moment. But you know, that would be a nice scenario, wouldn't it, to think that if this does all fall apart, that the people involved in trying to do it, in sabotaging football, are held to account and football reforms so it can't happen again. Because that's a very good point. If we do manage, say if we manage, I'm not going to stop it, you're not going to stop it. If the authorities manage to stop it, I would, even if you manage to stop it, I would be like, well, we stopped it this time. It doesn't mean they're going to stop trying to do it. So what we need to do is stop it and then stop them being able to do it again. Let's hope the government stand by their firm line and act. Considering games need licensing and local government permissions to go ahead, let's pray for sanctions, says Beric Breshaw. Also appreciate the comments about City at this time. I think all fan bases need to come together to condemn them and force it out, says Jack Taylor. Look, I wish I was sat here tonight saying I hate City, I can't stand City, they're ruining football. I wish we were still living in that world, and I bet Man City fans wish they were still in that world where they're the villain but they're winning. But to say that Man City have ruined football, those days are gone. You know, Man City haven't ruined football. All right, they're part of the six that are ruining football, but let's be honest, Manchester United, Liverpool, Real Madrid, they've ruined football more than Man City ever have with their oil money. So, you know, those days are gone. You know, I empathise with every football fan. If you're doing a United Stand video tonight, can you do all call-ins, as you can hear the emotional impact in fans it has, says Oliver Smith. Good idea, but I don't think I'm doing one tonight. I need a rest. Let's hope the good. Yeah, I've done that one. Also appreciate the comment. Done that one from Jack. And does this mean that West Ham won't get Champions League if they finish top four, says Misbehaviour? So it's a good question. Let's talk about clubs away from that from the moment. Thanks, Charlie, for the super chat. So the way UEFA are talking about the moment is that they will continue with the Premier League and they will continue with the Champions League. So whether Liverpool or Manchester United or Man City are in the Champions League, it will go ahead next year. Remember, Bayern Munich and Dortmund and PSG will not be in the Super League next year. So the Champions League will go ahead. So West Ham will be in the Champions League next year if they get in the top four. Manchester United, Liverpool, Juventus, Real Madrid, Barcelona may not be in it for various reasons, but the Champions League will still go ahead. Whether it'll have the interest or not, obviously, it will be very, very different, won't it? So, yes. Luton fan, and even my dream has been tainted. I hope that we, Chelsea, can just turn around now. It's save face for the club and it would be best for us, the fans. I've not seen anything about Chelsea or Man City standing down, actually. Mr. New Delhi with that. This has been a failing for a long time, allowing these kind of owners into football and nobody questioning that one day they might just want to change things. Absolute reform and backstop needed. Does this mean that West... Yeah. I mean, look, the reform... Let's be honest. The horse has bolted here. If we can change, if we can stop it, great. If we can get it back in the stable, great. But the reality is, a lot of this has come too late. I mean, I remember taking the piss out of Blackburn Rovers years ago. Remember when I can't remember where Blackburn Rovers owners came from, but weren't they chicken farmers or something, and they knew nothing about football. And you know, I don't think there was anything wrong with their owners, but they didn't really know anything about football. They wanted to buy a football club. And, you know, I'm not criticising those Blackburn Rovers owners because I don't know whether they were a big part in why Blackburn got relegated. I don't know whether they were good or bad owners, but the reality is they didn't know anything about football. They acquired a football club and it didn't go to plan. And that's the problem, isn't it? It's the fit and proper test that the Premier League has never really bothered itself with, but the German clubs do. The ability for these people to buy football clubs in the Premier League, and there's no fit and proper test about them. It's just like, oh, they've got money, let them have it. So we've been heading towards this for a long, long time, and the Premier League has got a lot to answer for. The interesting thing is that the Premier League stopped the Murdoch Corporation buying Manchester United and let the Glazers do it. And they didn't want the Murdoch Corporation to buy it because they might have dominated, Man United would have dominated football, which I get because, it's Sky, isn't it? But we ended up with the Glazers. 100% that this is a problem that, is 100% with the clubs that have caused this problem, but also things should have been done a long time ago to prevent this from ever happening, and greed didn't stop it. Whether it's too late to change all that, we'll have to wait and see. Somebody just said there, can you just explain what the Super League is in some capacity? I know what it is, but it's confusing. So the initial proposal from the clubs involved in it is that they would continue to play in the Premier League at the weekend, but on the midweek, they would play their European Super League fixtures. The European Super League would consist of 10 leagues, like an Eastern Western Conference that you get in the American sports. So if Man United were in one of these leagues, they would play 9 games, 18 games, because you play each team home and away. So you play 18 games across the season. Then if you finish in the top 5, you have the potential to play another 6 games. So it would be 24 games playing in the European Super League in its proposal, alongside your Premier League games, which would be 38, which would put you, well over 60 games without any cup tournaments, which you probably wouldn't play either. So that's how it would work. It just doesn't work. They don't work. You can't play in the Premier League and do the European Super League without destroying the Premier League, because to do that, you would need squads of about 30 players, which they can probably afford from the money they'd earn from the European Super League, but the Premier League would just become a farce. Does this mean that West Ham won't get Champions League? We've done that one. Best of luck, guys. Once we start sending our NFL games over to you guys, it's not our teams anymore. The global market is greater than in the single country, says Tyler. This has been a failing for a long time. We've done that from Bree. Mate, the Norwegian Prime Minister has just gone out and said that it will ruin football, says Hacky. I hope that somebody just said, do you think the players will do anything about it? I mean, we're all, there's lots of people, the governments, the football organisations, they've said a lot of things today. Hopefully over the week, we're going to start to see more and more from the actual clubs, players and managers involved. But, you might not want to hold your breath on that. We'll see. Which clubs doing a U-turn on this do you think would be enough to derail the whole thing, says Tom James. I don't think it's going to take many, because Bayern Munich and PSG and Dortmund aren't in it. They've only got 12 clubs at the moment. They need 15 plus another 5 to do it. I don't think they can do this league. I think that's a very good point. I think already at the moment they can't get to 20 to do it, because they've got to invite 5 anyway. You would hope that, I would hope none of the other Premier League clubs are going to say, I'm dead against this. Oh, I've been invited into it. Let's do it. Leicester might be dead against it. Oh, we can't get all the teams we want. Do you want to be in it? Oh, yeah, we'll come in. So they're probably struggling to get the league up and running anyway. Hopefully. I've just read on Twitter that if the 6 clubs have won a Champions League, the trophies will transfer to the Super League, meaning we would have 3. This is an utter disgrace to Busby Babes, says Little at 77. That's the funniest thing I've read all night. Absolutely funny. You just can't get your head on that. You really can't. Laurie Lee says, where will they get their refs from? Oh, mate, you just pay them. There'll be referees who want to do it. Prince William has said something about it as well, which is good. I mean, he's a football fan, isn't he? I think he's a Villa fan. And James says, if there's one positive, people can openly see what happens behind the scenes with their football clubs now. Everybody's always suspected that they're greedy parasites, and now they've outed themselves. Please subscribe, by the way, bottom right hand corner. We've had a steady 20,000 watching tonight, which is absolutely fantastic. I know it's a stressful time for everybody. One football Woodward meeting with angry players, says Lee. I read about that somewhere today, that he had a Zoom call with the players and they were very angry, but they've still not come out and said anything, have they? I await to see what's going to happen. Charlie says, if my team Everton get offered it, I'll be fuming. So yeah, going back to that previous point, I think that if there are enough clubs to come out and pull out of it, then if Chelsea and Man City pull out, I think it's dead in the water. You know what it is a little bit like as well? It's one of those ones where you don't know which way to play it, because they've committed to it. So how committed to it are they? Have they signed things? And also, it's a bit like, if you've been involved in a bank robbery and you all trust each other and they arrest you all to question you, and you're like, nobody say anything, we'll get away with it. But one of them cracks and they get put in the witness protection program and they get looked after. If a Chelsea or a Man City could get out of it, I would do it right now. I would be like, look, we'll come out of it, but only if you guarantee we don't get any bans or fines. And if I was UEFA, I'd go, fine, sign this that you'll never do it again, you're back in. Because I think if Chelsea and Man City did pull out, that's the end of it. Because you've lost. Basically, UEFA only need 2 or 3 of these clubs back, because they've already got Bayern Munich, they've already got Dortmund, they've already got PSG. If you could get Man City and Chelsea back, you've got 5 big clubs. All right, you crack on with your Super League with Manchester United, Liverpool, Barcelona, Juventus, Real Madrid. We've got Bayern Munich, Dortmund, PSG, Man City and Chelsea. So, if they can claw a couple back, then... But I don't know whether they can claw them back, because if they've signed things, then they're going to be... they're going to be a bit stuck, aren't they? So that's my issue with that. So many things coming out. Let's have a look what people are saying. Mark, do you think with football... I'm at a loss with football. Lost my team Bury FC in 2019 due to corrupt owners buying the club for £1. Serious change in regulation required, says Joseph Whelan. Spot on. Look at what Jeremy Corman said. He was spot on, says Isaac. Where is the hope, even if it... they're looking at a VAR for Trent here. Could be a penalty. You sort of want it to be a penalty, don't you? Because of... but I don't think it will be. His hand's right down by his side. That's not going to be a penalty. No way. Where is the hope? Even if it doesn't happen, we are stuck with these owners who clearly have no issue destroying the club, says Aram. Look at, we've read that. Mark Dobby, Mark, do you think the Glazers' money they loaned to buy United came with a clause to back this league from this company putting the money up for both, says Mark Dobby, probably. Tune in to Fox Sports at 3 a.m. GMT to watch the London Gunners versus the Manchester Red Devils hosted in the North Korean National Stadium, says Ian. You might not be far off with that. At this point, it's more likely the government will intervene and revoke licence for the matches to take place, says Dan. Yeah, but the problem is the British government can revoke licences, but what if they go and do what was just said there by Ian? They start playing the games in New York. Makes you wonder if the whole messy contract situation a while ago was to do with him knowing and disagreeing with the proper league, says Tommy B. Thanks. I hope all English teams get kicked out of the Champions League. Hi Mark, I'd be interested to see if Harry Kane has something to say. As England captain, he should stand up for English football, says AFAT. And Mark, do you think if his fans are successful in defending our football, the owners of the Six will be crucified, so they'll have to sell the shops, says Clark Kent? I don't know. I think, look, you know where I stand on this. I want my club back, I want football back, and I want the Premier League and the Champions League to continue. And I want reform of football. But looking at it pragmatically, which is very, very difficult, there is going to be a war and we need to win the war. If we don't win the war, the Super League will happen. I don't think a situation will occur where everything goes back to how it was. And the Glazers are still running United, but we're in the Premier League and the European League, and it's like, oh, we tried to have a Super League, but it didn't work. Let's carry on with normal, and we all go back to moaning about lack of investment in transfers. I don't think Liverpool go back to their owners being, well, they did help us win the league for the first time in 30 years. Yeah, they tried to screw us, but let's go back to normal. Same with Arsenal, same with Chelsea. I just don't see it happening. So I think there's going to be a big battle. I think there's going to be a brand new landscape, and I hope that it's a positive one for football fans. There's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake. And also, let's not forget, this might not get resolved very quickly. There may be no football for Manchester United for 6 months. There may be no football for a year. This could get lost in all sorts of litigation. And let's not forget, even if while it's caught in the courts, you know, Manchester United and Real Madrid say, well, we're going to carry on with the Super League. Well, you still need the players to do that. You still need fans to pay to watch that. I mean, if it takes a long time, everybody's a loser, because, you know, if Man United and Real Madrid say, well, look, let's go ahead with the Super League with what we've got. We're going to force our players to play. We're going to get Amazon to pay for it, and we're going to put it on the TV. Are you going to watch it knowing that it's going through litigation to try and stop it? It's not the same, is it? So there's loads of stuff to work through. Regarding the clubs pulling out, like you mentioned, didn't they say yesterday that the amount was around 50 billion if they breached the contract, says Baz? I don't know, Baz. I don't know what's been signed. Now we know what Ed Woodward has done with all his time. We should have been getting Sancho last year. The guys are jokes, says Aaron. And Mark, do you think it's hypocritical that these are the same teams that lobbied against the Newcastle takeover last summer, says TMF8? Well, maybe they lobbied against the Newcastle takeover last summer because they were like, if Newcastle have got all that money, then they would want to be part of the Super League. And if they're not part of the Super League, they've got all this money to compete with them to buy the best players. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong on that, but let's think about that. If this Super League's been worked on for a long time, and Man City, Man United, Chelsea and everybody vote against Newcastle being taken over by billionaires because they don't want them to be part of the Super League, but they're terrified of them being part of the new Premier League because, hold on a minute, we want the Super League, we want to dominate, but there's a team in the Premier League that could buy all our players and legitimately compete against the Super League. Who knows? Leicester will never accept the invite even if it came their way. The only club of the 20 in the Premier League to vote against pay-per-view schemes, says Als. And are there not conflict of interest laws in sports? Surely a league owned by the clubs in the league is just that, says Mark Dobby. Yeah, well, I've said this before. I mean, I've probably not said it for a few hours now, but the equality rules and the fact that we're going back to something very archaic. I mean, basically, having a league that's run by its members, it's a job for the boys. It's elitist. It's you're not coming into our club. It's disgusting in the modern world. Blackburn 95, United 99, AFC Invincibles, West Brom Great Escape, Leicester Miracle, Liverpool's first title. These memories are priceless for all fans, says Mark Roseblade. They are. They absolutely are. So still 1-0 here. Oh, let's have a look if there's any new news. Super League has been a bombshell. A source close to Manchester United said the boys aren't happy. They feel exposed by the club, uninformed, and as though the club didn't bother to fill them in or consult the players over career influencing changes. Well, mate, you know, I empathise with that. I do empathise with that. The boys aren't happy. They feel exposed by the club, uninformed, and as though the club didn't bother to fill them in or consult them over career influencing changes. You would feel absolutely betrayed by it. You know what? I would absolutely bloody love it if a Man City had done something about it. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. I just hope something can happen. I really hope something can happen. One agent said, I've spoken to a few players and they think it's an absolute joke. They like playing league football. The owners think it's positive, but not many others do. Ed Woodward informed Solskjaer of the authenticity of the Super League reports ahead of Sunday's game against Burnley once team sheets had been handed in, but there was no time to elaborate on details. But, you know, this is what this only backs up what I've said for a very long time. I can't speak for Arsenal and I can't speak for Liverpool and I can't speak for Chelsea. But at Manchester United, the manager gets so much shit. And sometimes it's justified because the football we play is crap. But they get so much shit, and then what? But the reality is they're like mushrooms. They don't get the players they want. They're not in control of what's going on. People think Sir Alex Ferguson's on the board. He's not on the board in relation to day-to-day decisions. The decision makers of Manchester United have been absolutely exposed. It's the Glazers, it's Ed Woodward, and everybody else. The players, the manager are just kept in the dark, and this is why the players. I know they've got careers to protect, but if you are Bruno Fernandes or Paul Pogba or Marcus Rashford, you will find a club to play for. Like, this is not Manchester United at the moment. And if you want to play for Manchester United, your best course of action is to boycott what's going on in some shape or form. That doesn't mean you've got to go on strike, but put something out publicly that you don't agree with the European. You know what? If I was Marcus Rashford or Bruno Fernandes or something like that, I'd speak to my squad and I'd say, look, we're not in breach of contract if we put no to the European Super League. How are we in breach of contract there for that? No to the European Super League. Or, you know, even be a bit clever about it. No to the ESL. You know, just put a tweet out like that and it will bang. And then loads of you retweet it. Like, you're not breaching your contract by doing that. No to the ESL. If they try and say I'm breaching the contract, I'd say, well, I know it could stand for European Super League, but actually I meant no to educating SEALs in Luton. You know, just do something like that. Thoughts on referees being equipped with microphones to explain all decisions, says Jake Kigby. But this is exactly what they're doing, Jake. They're chucking you as many sweets as you as possible to try and get you in their car. They're like a stranger. Don't get in the car. I don't care whether they're offering you ice cream or your favourite sweets. Don't get in. Oh, we're going to put microphones on referees so they're accountable, but we're also going to charge you £100 for every match. You know, don't fall for this. They are scamming you, and they're offering up. UEFA will do that. UEFA, you know, maybe some of their ideas UEFA will end up doing now, but that's not a reason to like the European Super League. The new UEFA format sounds just as bad. Thoughts on that? I don't like the new Europa. I do not like the new Champions League format, Rowan. I do not like it, but it's still the European Cup, and it still means we play in the Premier League. So look, I don't like it. I'm not saying UEFA's perfect, but this European Super League is pure evil as far as I'm concerned in a footballing sense. Porto rejected an invite. Well done. Keep it up, says Rudy. More and more is going to come out. Reports say Man City and Chelsea said no, but were bullied to the corner by English clubs, says Jamie. Game's gone, lads, says Nicholas. Multi says, I don't mind the Super League. Well, you know absolutely nothing about it, so it says everything about your chat, mate. Because you don't know anything about it, do you? Sevilla rejected it as well, says Liam. Hey, if there are any players watching, why don't you just tweet, I reject educating SEALs in Luton, and we'll all know what it means. ESL, European Super League. You're not breaching your contract then. Clubs betraying their ideals and fans. Mum and Gran never watched football but gained a love of Barca with me, says Jacob Allen. Watched so many matches together. Gran is no longer with us. I treasure the memories more than ever. Heartbreaking. Yeah, and we'll all have family members and friends who are no longer with us who loved football, and it taints those memories, doesn't it? But it doesn't. We'll always have those memories, but we might not have those memories again. Maybe an idea of the future will be having clauses in player contracts that stop an attempt to enter a Super League to protect the players, says Oliver Wellard. Well, it's unprecedented. That's the problem, isn't it? That is the problem. I'm disgusted with the idea of an ESL. It would be a terrible idea to educate seals in Luton, says the Huss. Look, I was on the hop there. But look, you know, I'm not a professional footballer, but if they want to get clever, they can let the fans know without breaching their contract. Of course they can. Steamy window. Yeah, I do want to check that actually. The history of the European Cup has been completely and utterly destroyed. The Lisbon Lions, Busby Babes, the history of the beautiful game is gone, says Kieran. And I'm disgusted with the idea of an ESL. It would be a terrible idea to educate seals. And I've read that one, of course. I've read that one. We've still got 20 minutes to go in this game, by the way. It is still 1-0. I mean, you could fall asleep watching this game. It's weird. It's weird. And I feel sorry for Liverpool fans, but I feel sorry for Leeds fans. I mean, this is where we desperately need fans back in the ground. I mean, I think we've all enjoyed having football for the last year because no football or this was the option. We couldn't have fans in the ground because of COVID, and I would always take football in this form than no football. But we're desperate for fans to be back in the grounds now. We need that. We need those fans back in the ground, and there's a lot of things we can do. There's a lot of things we can do to protest against this European Super League. You know, there are days that we can run where you go and support your local, and I'm more than happy to, you know, do that with people. I'm more than happy to say, look, on Saturday afternoon I'm going to go and watch Solihull Moors. Come down and get a ticket. We'll all go down to a couple, however many want to go, and you know that can happen all around the country. So we can certainly do things to get you know, to support football in general. But we need fans back in the ground. We do. I mean, I would love it if Manchester United had a home game, and even if you bought a ticket, you know, you find a local game, and you know, thousands of people converge on Stockport or Salford or Rochdale or something like that. Managers will be gone in minutes if they slag it off. It's a lose-lose, says Tom. Yeah, but you know, sometimes you've got to do the right thing, haven't I? Like as I said today, it's a great quote. Evil prospers while good people do nothing. Sometimes you've got to make a stand, haven't you? Words can't describe how annoyed I am with this Super League. All these clubs associated with this should be ashamed of themselves ruining football, says Aways. Jacob says clubs ideally... no, we've done that one, haven't we? Talking about his gran, which was nice. Inspiration behind your new channel name, Mark, says Jaden. What new channel name? And he's at the bar there. Bamford hits the bar. This just proves that the Glazers never really cared about the fans. Well, they never did, Ryan. I mean, to be honest with you, it would be naive to think that the Glazers ever did care about the fans because they bought the club on debt. It was a business deal. They don't know anything about football. They certainly don't support Manchester United. So look, they never did care about the fans. Will the top six eventually die out? For example, fans not supporting and top players deciding to leave like the Rashfords and Kanes? I don't think that's the plan, Charlie. I think there's more chance that the Premier League clubs will die out. They're the ones in danger here. I would assume the worst. I would assume the worst situation is that the European Super League is successful and the Premier League and all the other leagues go bankrupt. That's what's at stake here, I think. Callum rejects educating seals in Luton. Good to hear. If you know, you know. You've got to stand against it. We've got to stop it. Mark, do you think any less of Manchester United? Yes. I don't, Jack, I don't feel I'm a Manchester United fan at the moment because I don't think Manchester United fan exists. And I think a lot of Liverpool fans feel it tonight. If that was my club, I'm so glad we played yesterday because if we'd been playing Monday Night Football, I would be watching United play, probably hoping that we lose. I know that sounds horrible, but it's not. We're not Manchester United at the moment. I feel sorry for Ollie. I feel sorry for the players. They've got to come out and do something, I believe, but that's down to them. I feel really, really sorry for the fans. I personally feel gutted. JTV says no to the Super League and I hate this stupidity. But I don't feel like I'm a Manchester United fan at the moment. I feel cold towards Manchester United because of what they've done. We're really close to 370,000 subscribers, by the way. Please subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. We will be providing updates. Leeds should have scored there. What a save by Alisson. I mean, in any other game, you'd be saying that's a fantastic save from Roberts, but he should score. He's in the 6-yard box. He's got full sight to goal. And Alisson just makes himself big. I'm just having a look on Instagram here. People are talking about Bruno. Let's have a look. Bruno. He comes from Sporting like Cristiano. Oh, he's got a story. Yeah, dreams can't be bought, talking about the Champions League, which we know from Bruno. Sometimes I get better stuff on Twitter. Is it the bar? I mean, Leeds should be level in this game. Hi, Mark. Just a thought. Change United stand to United we stand. Just a thought, mate, says Neil. Well, no, that would be unfair because there is a fanzine called that. TMFA Gaming, thanks for becoming a member. Very good United stand show with the guys. Great watch along as always, Mark, says Ryan Timpson. Yeah, we've had a lot of content on there today. I mean, look, I'm hoping that I think what I want to happen, and I'm sure we all want to happen, is the reason I want the players to come out and do something, and the reason I want managers to come out and do something, whoever it is because I think that will be another catalyst against this. I don't want this to linger on for days and days. I mean, we're not playing Leeds till next Sunday, but that will go very, very quickly in relation to if this keeps moving ahead. We need this to stay in the press. We need this to stay constantly on the front page, and we need something to happen. We need, I would absolutely celebrate it like a goal if there was a breaking news that Man City and Chelsea have withdrawn from it, because it's over then. It's over. It only needs 2 clubs out of it and it's over. My fear is they've signed up for it, so they can't be out of it. So we're going to have to go through whatever's going to happen and try and fight it another way. But as I said, if Chelsea and Man City or 2 of these clubs did pull out, I think it would have to be big clubs like Chelsea and Man City. And I say that in relation to their good clubs in Europe at the moment. I'm not so sure Arsenal and Spurs are big enough clubs in relation to ability. But if Chelsea and Man City pulled out, you'd have Chelsea, Man City, PSG, Barcelona and Dortmund not in the Super League, which would make the Champions League as strong as the Super League. So that's what we want to happen. Turns out Man United and all other clubs in the Big Six are small tin pot clubs. Winning titles and having iconic players means nothing until they treat fans right, says TS98. And we must take on a war of our own. May sound ridiculous, but grabbing my dad's hand at my first United game and falling in love encapsulates everything I know and love about football. We can't surrender, says Breeshaw. As a City fan, Premier League and Champions League, this seems pointless, says Jordan Hill. There's another tweet here for me to read out. Let's have a look. A bit more news for you. I'm told Chelsea and Man City were informed the Super League was going ahead last week and were basically given the option of getting on board or risk being left out. They were not the drivers of the plan. However, in many ways, I'm more disappointed by those two clubs, as they were the two who broke the traditional cartel in England and improved the competition of the Premier League. Now they've joined something that denies others the same opportunity. Very good point there. If Chelsea and Man City have come to it late to the table, they had the power to stop it. Definitely. Definitely. Anas Lagari, Secretary General of the Super Leagues. The Super League has prepared for this. Threats of exclusion are not legal. The timeline could accelerate. If agreement is reached with UEFA, the competition could start as early as September 2021. Wanker. You wanker. Enemy of football, mate. I never knew who you were before, Anas, but you're only one letter away from what you really are, ass. But yeah, I never knew who you were before. Now we all know who you are. Cretin. Arrogant cretin. And I think anybody who comes out and speaks about this, when we're prepared for all this, that and the other, you're basically a cunt. You are somebody that's coming out and destroying football, and you're doing it in an arrogant way. Just a bunch of wankers. Really disgusted by it. Absolutely disgusted by it. It's a scandal. Absolute scandal. That's what it is. That's what it is. There's somebody that has clipped that thing I said about Man City earlier, but I never thought I would be doing that. I think football has, in many ways, we're all terrified of what's going to happen to football, but in other ways, some weird things have happened that we never would have predicted. I was reveling in the rivalry that I'd sort of set up with Manchester City. I couldn't stand them last week. I was like, you're not having a treble. And, I was overjoyed by Chelsea. And within 48 hours, it's like, we're all allies as football fans, which we weren't. Because we're all united in disgust with our own football clubs. Who would have thought that? Liverpool fans, Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, Man City fans, Spurs fans, all united against the clubs that we love. That should never have happened. And that just shows you the enormity of this scandal, really. So proud of teams like Porto and Sevilla who put two fingers up to the ESL when they could have used extra revenue way more than the greedy six, says Geordie. Most betrayed, embarrassed and confused I've ever felt as an Arsenal fan, so angry and just feel sick, says Ben Wilmot. Yeah, I mean, look, to be honest with you, I'm very pleased with someone like Porto because, you know, the Portuguese league has always been in the shadow of La Liga, and them going into that league is sort of turning the back on the Superliga. Is that what it's called in Portugal? They don't need to do that. You know, as long as Porto and Benfica and Braga and Sporting stay together, the Portuguese league, all right, it might not be the most glamorous, but it will carry on because the Portuguese people, it's their league. I think it's more significant for someone like Sevilla to do it because Atletico Madrid, Barcelona and Real Madrid have gone. So, yeah, Mane scored the goal, Jack. I mean, I've not really had a lot of eye on it. I mean, from the look of it, Leeds pretty much deserve an equaliser, but it might not happen. Yeah, Perez has said that he'll create his own World Cup because he's a twat. And there is the goal for Leeds. They've deserved it. Is it Bamford? No, it's not Bamford. I can't remember what his name is. Loren, is it? I don't know what to feel about it, really. Bielsa's very happy. I mean, it's a big loss of points for Liverpool, of course, but I mean, we just don't know really what it means, do we? I mean, are they even going to be in the bloody Premier League next year? Probably not. It's a strange old world. It's a strange old world. All right, Mark, mate. If all the 6 English club fan bases come together, it would be an incredible message. Rivalry side for the heart and soul of the game, says Robbo. I hope things like that are going to happen. There's no reason why it can't. Have you seen the Sky report on a board member saying our primary job is to maximise revenue and profits? The wider good of the game is a secondary concern. I have seen that report. Yeah, I have seen that report. And that's the only quote you need. Some of the foreign clubs don't even travel well, so it could be the case that United v Inter Milan doesn't have any away support eventually, says Mr. Nostalgia. Yeah. Yeah. You've got to look at that without a shadow of a doubt. You have. I mean, there is an interesting point there. Would you actually be interested in watching the Super League anyway? There's so much negativity towards it. Would you be interested in watching it? I think people would watch it, but the problem is, what the plan is with the Super League is to hoover up all the best players in the world anyway. So the only place you can see the best players in the world is in a Super League, and they'll pay them very much a lot of money to do it. Maybe Chelsea, Man City felt it's easier to return, says McKenna. And do you remember at the beginning of the pandemic when Ollie said we can take advantage of the market? I think this is what he was talking about, says Thomas M. Arsenal scraping a draw with Fulham, Liverpool drawing with Leeds. What's so super about these teams? Earn it is key, says Joshua Bowater. Thank you for those super chats there. Prime example of why we love football. Shocks like this, says CJ Football. Well, there's just no accountability, is there? I mean, if you win the league in a Super League, you don't win the league really. You just go into a tournament. You go into a tournament if you win the league. If you finish at the bottom, you don't get relegated. See, the thing I mean, look, I don't want to think too much about it because it makes me want to throw up. But my understanding of it is that 15 teams will permanently be in the tournament, and then each year 5 teams will be invited in. But if, say, Leicester are invited in because they win the Premier League, and then in their first year in the Super League, they win the Super League, are they kicked out because they're not a permanent member? You see what I mean? It's flawed. It's absolutely flawed because the 15 clubs in it always stay in it. So, you know, That's what I'm wondering about. How does that work? But I don't want to know how it works, is the honest answer. I don't want to know how it works. They'll make the rules to suit them, yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. Wash your hands and scrub your toes, everybody, you know. So it looks like Liverpool are going to lose here. What if the Super League doesn't happen and owners like the Glazers stop radically investing in their teams? They pretty much do that anyway, says Chris Elliott. Well, look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I do care, but in this situation, I would rather United went bankrupt and started out from the National League and I can support my club again than be in a situation where we're in a Super League. So, look, if we go bankrupt and the Glazers sell us, we build again. Manchester United have built from far worse situations than the Glazers selling us and leaving us in debt. We can build back again. And, one thing about our fan base is that we wouldn't go bankrupt if we went into the hands of the fans, because fans would be more than happy to pump money into the club if it was fan-owned. We're not happy to pump money in the club if we're bankrupted by the Glazers and they want our money to stay afloat. Can you wish my mate Alex Champ Jones a happy birthday by singing the Cavani song, says Jack Baseford. Well, Jack, thanks for the super chat. I can't sing. I can't even do Sean Dyche. I can't. I haven't got that in me at the moment. I'm emotionally drained and I feel very upset. Apparently the Villa Twitter account, I've just got to check that. Let me just have a check of that. Let's have a look. Aston Villa. But I imagine teams like Aston Villa will be quite concerned because for them, I don't know what they've done. A big Villa. I don't know what Villa have done here. I don't know what Villa have meant to have done here. I don't know what I'm meant to be talking about. If someone wants to give me a summary, I know there's a video on there. But the thing is, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm meant to be doing Chelsea Brighton tomorrow night, and I think what will happen tomorrow night is we'll do another watch along, and we'll spend the 2 hours of the match just chatting away about football disintegrating. In a different situation where this weekend hadn't happened, this would have been a good game to watch. Liverpool 1-0 up, Leeds get a late equaliser deservedly, and that's super, that's special. But that feels very hollow, doesn't it? That doesn't feel like football. And the reason it doesn't feel like football is not only because of the Super League, but we just don't know what the future is. Because there's no future to buy into, that feels hollow. And that's exactly what a Super League will feel like. It will feel hollow because the future's always going to be the same. If you win the league, you go into a playoff. If you finish at the bottom, you stay up. This is a sign of what the Super League will be. Hollow and fake. Because that is actually, on the face of it, a really good game of football. Leeds draw with Liverpool and halt their hopes of top four, who are not in the Champions League anymore. But because of what's going on, this is why we need it to be sorted out very, very fast, because it's desensitising football. Eventually, it'll be London Gunners versus Manchester Devils at the Glazer Stadium in front of our tourist fans. These corrupt owners only care about the cash, says Ryan. Thanks for your support over the last 24 hours. We all need to unite and get our football back. It's our right. Stay strong, football lovers, says Russell Burton. On a serious note, hope someone... No, We're not breaking into Woodward's house and smashing up his Lego Joshua Bellwater, who is joking, but none of that. We don't want to hear any of that. We're not that. We don't need to do that. Super League is the only way Man United and Arsenal stay relevant, says Thomas. I'd rather not be relevant then. I'd rather just support my club and than this. I don't want this. I just don't want this. Anyway, let me just give you a summary of what's going on. I mean, in relation to the league, it would be quite an interesting result because Liverpool aren't in the top 4 and they've played a game more than Chelsea, who play tomorrow night. Manchester United are actually 13 points ahead of Liverpool, having played the same amount of games, which is interesting. Just have a few updates here. Okay. Yeah, non-Super League let West Ham stay 4th for now. But yeah, I mean, look, Leeds, good performance from Leeds, but I don't really feel anything about it. I don't know about you. Opinions on Watford and Sarr? I've got nothing. No, I've got no interest in transfers, mate. There's far bigger things. I've got absolutely no interest in Manchester United signings because I'm not in love with Manchester United at the moment. We're having a big argument and I don't know whether we can sort it out. So I've got no interest. Why would I care about United signing Erling Haaland, Jadon Sancho, Declan Rice when I don't care about Manchester United? I don't. They've shit all over us, and I couldn't give two shits. I mean, I've heard that Cavani's leaving, and that would normally be a big story, but I'm not actually interested because fair play to him if he's getting away from this shower shit. I would always watch people remarkable like Oli, Bruno, Pep, Mourinho, Aguero, etc. wherever they go. So for me, ultimately, players and managers decides in the end where I'll end up watching, says 3 Dart and Cats. Yeah, that's the players and the fans are the big thing here. These billionaires think they're going to win. If they haven't got the players and they haven't got the fans, they can't win. That's where the battle will be drawn. And we need these players to come out and do something very, very quickly. And it's not like they're not rich already. Very good point. Dani Alves has come out as well, but obviously he doesn't play for any of these clubs anymore. We need players from the clubs to come and down it. That's what we need. Hey Mark, I'm a Sporting fan and I'm really glad Liga NOS hasn't adhered to this madness. I hope we can get these corrupt people out of the magical game, says Thomas Carrera. Yeah, total reform would be fantastic. It really would. But look, let's see what tomorrow brings. I know that there's a lot of things going on. Let's see what tomorrow brings. I will be back tomorrow, of course, with the Chelsea-Brighton game, which probably will be the same as this, just chatting away. But Dani Alves has put a tweet out. Let me just tell you what it says. He says that soccer was, is and always will be a sport that transforms lives. We do not allow top hats to spoil these possibilities of small ones dreaming of being big. Good point. More need to follow. More need to follow. That's what needs to happen. More of us need to follow. Look, all I want to say is, again, I feel that we have a fantastic community. I know it's a bit different to the United stand because we get a lot of fans from different clubs. Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. We will be back tomorrow night, of course. If anything breaks, I will be back. But I think what we need to do is get some rest, and we need to come back and keep the pressure on and keep the fires burning. Keep putting coal on the fire tomorrow. What we cannot do is just get used to this situation and say, let's see what happens. We've got to keep it going. That's what we need to do. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Please subscribe, by the way, bottom right hand corner, get your notifications on, smash a like on the video. Big up to everybody who's been watching the content today. We'll be back again tomorrow, of course, unless anything else happens. But let's keep this passion going, and let's hope that more and more people get on side, including players and fans. I'll speak to you all later. Take care, stay safe, and if you are feeling down, I do as well. A lot of people do. You're not alone with that. So thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you in a bit.